Welcome along, everybody. We're back. It's round 17 of 18 of the 2016 GPVWC Supercup season, and for the first time in a long time, we arrive back at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City, a recently revamped track for the 2015 Formula One season. We're bringing it here to GPVWC for the first time with this new format, of course. And after a great load of racing yesterday in Formula Challenge, we'll be very excited to see how the Super Cup gets around here itself. I apologise in advance for the cold, but nevertheless, my name is James Kirk. On cameras, once again, we have Mr. Ben Willis, and alongside me, as always, is Sam Jones. And Sam, Mexico City, we've seen a number of different driving styles here. Some like to take it aggressively, some like a little bit of a more smooth driving style. I like to liken it a lot to Monza in a certain couple of ways. You know, you've got a couple of long straights, you've got some tricky little sectors, and I guess it's why we've seen today a couple of people being a little bit adventurous and going on to the medium package as opposed to the usual high downforce package.
Yeah, good evening, James. Good evening, guys at home. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Today is going to be certainly interesting, and this extra variety coming with the difference in downforce that we're seeing through some of these cars should certainly make it interesting. I do remember, I think it was one of the Enterprise drivers that did it most recently, and it looks like Ascari Canterden for Enterprise is also doing it again. So it certainly seems to be a theme for Enterprise drivers to try out the lower downforce, and it certainly has paid off in some respects for drivers in the past. It makes it very difficult to overtake them, and that could really be the key today down this very long main straight here. It's probably a bit unassuming looking at the track map, but really when you get out there, it does run for quite a while, and that's exactly where we're probably going to see the majority of the overtaking today.
Yeah, indeed. I believe it's one of the top 5 longest straights on our calendar this year as well. I think it's down the lower end of that top 5, but a long straight nonetheless from turn 17 to turn 1. We've got about best part of 6 minutes left of qualifying, and currently sitting on provisional pole position, an unlikely source in Jason Muscat for Multiforce, who's been showing improved pace in recent races after a bit of a lull mid-season, but what a time to get form as well. The aforementioned Enterprise, they've been really struggling in recent race events, and so Multiforce still in with a very good shot of the top 5, himself and Menno Clont in those cars. Lars Brugman currently P2, and Dino Paolini, who of course won his first race in the Super Cup last time in America, currently rounding up the top 3 there. Of note, 3 drivers have back of the grid penalties for today's round. We've got Borja Milan, who's currently provisionally P5. Dennis Jordan, who's currently provisionally P4. So that's 2 pretty fast drivers around this track. Looking at massive grid drops. And the final one of those drivers, again, not looking good for Enterprise, Scott Beresford, although he looks like he's going to be just sitting out qualifying, maybe doing a lap in at the end to record a time, but looks like he's going to be starting well at the back. But let's have a little look at who else is running in and around that top 10 area. So Edgar Ruiz looking pretty good there in P6. Tobias Polotzek looking very good again in P7. I've been so impressed with how the Germans responded from his early form. Argenis Riera, we've seen him shining at times as well this year. He's taken the podium this year, of course, the Venezuelan. P8, Sven de Vries P9, and then Wupke Hoekstra rounding out the top 10. 4.5 minutes left. Muscat clear by 0.2, Sam. Are we expecting to see that challenged at all, do we think?
I'd be betting on someone to at least challenge that time and time again this season. We've seen a driver record their fastest lap or their personal best lap right at the death as the checkered flag comes out, and that's usually the case because the track just continues to grip up during this session. So the likes of Lars Brugman, Paolini, they're certainly going to be the ones that would get up there. I'm surprised Risto Capit isn't higher up the field at the moment. He's all the way down in 12th place, and he tends to be one of the pace setters in qualifying at the moment at least, and maybe he'll be able to pull a lap together, but they're all back out on track now, so we've certainly got a lot of time to get about 2 more flying laps in, depending on how many these drivers want to do in this next run.
Well, it should be noted, Sam, that both Street Fighters actually, so Capit and Frančić, who's not been enjoying the best of form himself, Frančić especially, both running the medium downforce setup along with Kantonen. So it's very possible that in sacrificing a good qualifying position, they might be purely going for race setups. The three of them, as you say, it's very difficult to overtake a lower downforce car. As interestingly enough, look at this, Capit running into traffic, and we've seen a lot of build up there actually in the new stadium section as it is replacing, I forget what the original Parabolica corner, of course, or Paratender, that's what it is. Peraltada, wow. There's me with my historic track knowledge. Absolutely terrible. But it's fascinating to see whether they are actually going for the full race setup.
Yeah, it would look like they're really focusing more on race than anything as Risto Capit starts his lap now and goes through the first three corners of this track. It's clearly a team. It's kind of a team decision. They've probably come to it together in practice, and they feel that they can benefit from it in the race. But there's going to be quite a few cars for them to overtake. At the moment, Capit will probably start about 10th with all the grid drops, and well, he's definitely been held up by Menoklunt here as well, it looks like. So this may be a bit of a disaster of a lap if he wants to try and improve right now. And he's going to have to hope that the wings pay off during the race.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Capit just so you can get a better idea as the audience at home and what this track can offer. But I just want to draw your attention, Sam, up to P2, where Tobias Polotzek has just put in a 1:26.0, which is unbelievable speed from the German.
Yep, once again he's showing that he's suddenly found the pace, and I think it's all come down to really time off track, practicing around just in between these races, getting used to the cars and used to the sim, and that's really starting to pay off now. I just feel like he sometimes just needs a little bit more patience in the race, and he could convert some of these good starting positions into potentially a podium. I think he could go as far as that if he can just get a really nice clean race in. That's how impressed I've been with his form as of late.
Risto Capit there does improve up to P6, so that's a very nice effort. That's a net P5 as well, given that Milan's up ahead of him in 4th. We'd just like to give a little shout out to the fill-in drivers for today as well. So Masai Mlinic back in the TG car, currently P12. Team Proline bringing on board Chris Shepherd, usually of touring car fame. Chris, he is in the car there in P13. Who else have we got in? Kieran Parkin, replacing Lewis McVeigh for today, in at Kayala Racing, P18. And I believe that is all of them for today. So welcome to Kieran, welcome to Chris, and of course welcome back Masai for his second round here in the Super Cup. 30 seconds left to qualifying though. And I think it's very much worth going on board, Ben, with Jason Muscat, who is just going around the incredibly tricky Sector 2, and I'm certain that that is where the lower downforce cars are going to be losing the majority of their time. You need some good downforce through there to get a good sector time, and of course now into the reformed stadium section. We might see a couple of overtakes into that hairpin. On exit, not so much, and especially into this corner, not so much, but he's going to find, or round the final corner now, turn 17, and we'll see whether Jason Muscat can further extend this lead. Lars Brugman, by the way, no, he can't extend this lead, Jason Muscat. Lars Brugman does improve, and he does get another lap, actually, but only a 1:25.9, so still 1/10 away from Muscat. Mlinic crosses the line. He goes into the top 10, a 1:26.2. So consider this, actually, the top 10 only separated by 4/10. Incredibly close stuff in this qualifying session. P4 down to P8, separated by a 10th.
Yeah, it's really close, and with two cars to watch out for now, the Mazurek drivers, Hoekstra and Paolini, are coming around the final corner, and they both did very good sector ones, and they've continued it on through the lap. Can they improve? Hoekstra across the line first, he doesn't improve, and Paolini also goes across the line, and well, he didn't improve either, if I'm not mistaken, so I was wrong there, but they gave it their best.
Neither does Milan, and Polotzek pulls in as well. He's thrown in the towel. Dennis Jordan doesn't improve. So really, we are just waiting for Brugman. Here he comes around the final corner now, and he does improve. He usurps Jason Muscat by, well, I mean, it's about 300ths of a second, isn't it? But we are hearing through the man with Hawkeyes himself, Ben Willis, that apparently he did extend track limits during that lap. We will see whether Lars therefore decides to revoke his pole position
I
back
guess
to Jason Muscat.
I guess he'll be checking those laps after the race as well.
Of course, it is the DC's job, isn't it? But I think either way, fair game should be given to Jason Muscat. That is an extraordinary lap, and he might still yet get pole position if Lars decides to concede that time where reportedly he did cut the white lines, but P2 is still really not bad. And of course, Tobias Polotzek rounding out the top three in what is a really surprising effort from him. All he has to do is keep his calm, and perhaps there is a podium in it for him.
Yeah, he's certainly put himself in a good position at the moment, and of course behind him will be the two Majoric drivers, because Milan will be taking a drop, so he'll drop from 5th back to the back of the grid. So certainly it's a few different drivers starting to show the presence at the end of this season. It's not like a one-off case. It's been more of a consistent change in form for some of these drivers. The likes of Sven de Vries all the way down in 11th place in qualifying. That's surprising for the season as a whole, but not for the last few races. Sven has certainly struggled in qualifying recently.
Yeah, I mean, there's... I wonder whether it's starting to get into the minds now of the drivers. It is, of course, the penultimate round of the season. Whether some guys are just taking their foot off the pedal. In the case of Sven de Vries, you wouldn't think that's the case. But let's consider this. Teams Championship, by the way, if you're just tuning in for the first time in Supercup, already done and dusted. Team Proline took that last time out in America. And to be fair, the Drivers' Championship looks done and dusted as well. Sven de Vries, really the only person who can even challenge Lars Brugman now, but keep in mind, he is almost 100 points behind Brugman at this stage, and there's only a maximum of 100 points left on offer, so, I mean, it's the case, Sam, where really he needs Lars Brugman to no score, otherwise the Dutchman's got this in the bag.
Yeah, it's more of an absolutely catastrophic ending for Lars Brugman in these final two rounds for anyone else really to have a chance, or Sven de Vries really to have a chance now at the championship. So it's really, we're just waiting for the race when it happens. I think we're just waiting for that point where he's going to come across the line and we're going to announce him as champion. And or that could be the next race, or you might have to even wait until the race after. But it's certainly looking good for him, and he's set himself a good start here by getting pole position. And while if he could pull away from the field early, I don't think anyone will be able to challenge him.
I'm just trying to do the maths now. So let's have a little thing. 5. So 75 would be 510. So that would be 18. So that means that Sven de Vries, I can tell you for certain now, with my quick maths, without a calculator, Sven has to finish at least second in race 1 to keep the championship going into race 2 of this evening. That is how tall of an order it is for Sven de Vries to take the championship. And starting from, I mean, he will start inside the top 10 because of Milan's penalty, but P10 to P2, it's a tough ask, especially when you've got the likes of a low downforce Capit and low downforce David Frančić in and around you.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some luck and good starts in the last few races, which doesn't really rule him out of being able to get some of those positions early on, but
of course,
it certainly will be tricky for him, and I just don't know how these downforce settings are going to work out here. I mean, of course, not only... I mean, there's only 3 drivers that are running the medium downforce setting, but then you also have to look at all the drivers that are in high downforce. Like, how much of that downforce are they actually running? Or are they running skinny wings on a high downforce setup effectively? And that's going to be the interesting one as well. Who sacrifices the second sector to really gain in the final and first sector?
How viable is it to overtake in that second sector as well? Because if the guys on the higher downforce can't overtake Cadson and the Street Fighters, as my nose decides to block up at the worst time, if they can't overtake them on the straights, then their only hope is to overtake them in the sectors where their high downforce is going to count, which would be, again, the stadium section, the sector 2. But if there's no viable opportunity to overtake them in those sectors, unless the medium downforce guys make a mistake, then you struggle to see how they are going to make any progress forward.
Yeah, that's really going to be the interesting point. It's all about staying within that DRS range, and well, if it doesn't happen, then we're going to have quite a few frustrated drivers here today, and that could really boil over as well. It's certainly a track with a lot of tight corners, and we could see a few dive bombs going in if drivers start to get desperate trying to overtake. Of course, it's going to be a long race with the one mandatory pit stop. That's all the drivers will have to do, and they'll probably hope to try and get the undercut through that pit stop as well, which is usually what happens in race one. We get a lot of action at the start, it calms down a bit until the pits, and then the action picks back up again.
No, strategy is another key vital way of overtaking, and actually, especially for those high downforce guys, you would think that they would be the first ones to pit as well, so that they can make advantage of their clearly superior speed through the second sector and overall regarding the lap as well. So 30 seconds left of our race one warm-up. I want to get your thoughts overall, Sam, just on how the year has gone. I know that we can save some big discussions for next time out in Brazil, of course, but first year on our Factor 2 for Supercup, along with the rest of the career ladder. How do you think the Formula Renault 3.5 mod has held up? Has it improved the racing? Has it been able to carry over the great racing that we've seen in previous years, of course, since we've been on commentary, and indeed before you're even on commentary? Is it what we'd hoped for?
Well, it's quite interesting, really, because in some respects, I kind of forgot that this is the first year that we've run in our Factor 2, and I think that's kind of shown how well the transition has really taken place. It's been fairly smooth and, well, relatively low in terms of the amount of trouble that we've had. I know the first round was a bit tricky. A lot of drivers complained about struggles to sit behind another car, and I think that soon got rectified, and by the time we got to round 2, it certainly looked a lot easier to be able to sit behind another driver, and the overtaking, I think, certainly increased as well, and I think that was the main issue. And if we could say that that's the main issue with the mod that we went into basically without knowing too much about it, then that was pretty good, to be perfectly honest. Also, I think a lot of people were worried that maybe this year was going to be boring. It was just going to be spread out fields, and the gaps weren't going to be anywhere near as close as they have been in the past, which is what has made Supercup such a good series in the career ladder, and arguably one of the most exciting series to watch, certainly to commentate on. But that certainly didn't happen, and we've kept with all the very close times and close racing as well. Occasionally we get a leader that gets away and wins by, say, 10 seconds or something, but more often than not, there's always a battle going on track, and we lose our voices by the end of the 2 hours that we sit here, and that's due to the fact that somehow whoever's kind of sorted all this out, they've done a very good job, and it's kept for some exciting and very close racing.
High praise indeed. High praise indeed. And I would tend to agree with you. Overall, I wonder whether we might not see the return of two tyre compounds for next year. Perhaps certainly adds that extra bit of strategy in there. But I do think that that's sort of been balanced out now, or at least for this year, with the different downforce packages as well, which has thrown an extra element of risk and strategy into the mix. But for now, the drivers will just be wanting to focus on race one ahead. 41 laps of the Mexico City circuit, and those will be led off by Lars Brogman, who has chosen to take pole position here today. So if our cameraman is to be believed, he'll be looking at a back of the grid start for Brazil. Joining him on the front row, Jason Muscat from Multiforce, looking to gain more points on Enterprise in the battle for fifth. We then got Tobias Polotzek, best qualifying of the year for the Germans, starts P3 for Evolution, with Wupke Hoekstra P4 for Mazurek ahead of his teammate Dino Paolini in P5. Risto Capit, the first of those drivers on the medium downforce package, starts P6 for Street Fighter, with a lofty effort from Marginis Riera, the Venezuelan, to take him into P7 for Racing Team Schroten. Masai Mlinik with an impressive effort for TG Racing. He's P8, with Sven de Vries after penalty starting P9 for Satellite. And rounding out the top 10 is the other TG Racing car of Edgar Ruiz, and I believe that might be the first time that both TGs have gotten in the top 10, at least in a very long time anyway. Excuse me. Chris Shepherd on his debut in Supercup for Team Proline starts P11 with David Francic, also on the medium package, P12 for Street Fighter. We then have Thomas Hinds, P13 for Fox, with Menno Klod, P14 for Multiforce. Lorraine Kumar will start P15 for Racing Team Stroke, with Kieran Parkin making his Supercup debut, P16 for Kayala. Ascari Canton in the final of those on the medium package will start P17 in the first of the Enterprises, with James Wilson making it an Enterprise sandwich with Kayala Bread, P18. Reese Backhand is P19 for Fox. Welcome back, Reese, by the way. And David Junt runs out the top 24 Satellite. With Mark Fuller, P21 for ST. He's ahead of his teammate Borja Milan, who of course had a back of the grid penalty, P22. And he is then followed at the end of the grid by the other two drivers with back of the grid penalties, Dennis Jordan in P23 and Scott Beresford in P24 for Evolution and Enterprise respectively.
Yeah, so the drivers are coming around the final couple of corners, and well, I'm certainly excited to see what's going to happen here. It's effectively a new track. It's a completely new layout, of course, revised from what it was before, and this is going to be super exciting going down into turn 1, and also I think it's turn 4 as well.
A huge run going down to turn 1, isn't it, off the line? So starts will be vitally important here, as may very well be the package actually, getting a lot more speed off the line than your higher downforce counterparts. You just wait for the final few cars to slot into position. Lars Brugman already angling his car across Jason Muscat. We have 3 lights, we have 4, we have 5 lights in here for the first time back in Mexico. We are racing, and it's a good launch there from Lars Brugman. It's a better launch, I feel, though, from Jason Muscat, who's straight up into the slipstream. Polotzek got away well as well, trying to fend off the two Missourics, and really, there's no point in saying who's ahead of who before we get down to turn 1. Look at Capit! Look at Capit! That high, that lower downforce setting, moving massive dividends. There's massive crash further back, and that is an Enterprise off and into the gravel there. It's Ascari Cantonen. So one medium downforce package serving very well. Cantonen well off the road though, clearly out of the race. But Risto Capit, what was it, P6 or 5? Straight up into the lead. Jason Muscat did take Lars Brugman in all of that. P2. Polotzek down to P5, and Dino Paulini's lost out massively as well. He's down to P7. Francic, the other medium downforce package user, he's up to P9, so he's also had a good start. And now we head through Sector 2 with these guys, and you can see how much Risto Capit is struggling through here. But really, all he has to do is keep Jason Muscat behind until they hit that braking zone. He's starting to pull away now because they don't have any DRS support, not really that much support in the way of slipstream, and he had a little look, didn't he, Muscat, but nothing doing as we head through the stadium section now. A bit of constant teetering from everyone, really, but at the end of lap 1, after an outstanding start, Risto Capit leads from Muscat, Lars Brugman, Hoekstra, Polotzek, De Vries, Paulini, Riera, Francic and Shepard.
Yeah, absolutely crazy start there. It looked like Cantonen just missed his braking zone and went straight into the back of Clont at the start of that race. But now Muscat's coming under pressure down the main straight once again, and Brugman looking up his inside going into 1. He gets it done just about, and Muscat's going to have to watch out here because Hoekstra's right behind as well, and he's going to be all over the back of him going up into turn 4 as well. So already Brugman's trying to make up for not the best of starts there. He just didn't quite get off the line as well as the guys around him, and that cost him a couple of positions. Muscat has just held on to 3rd place, Hoekstra in 4th, and Polotzek sticking with these guys in 5th as well, and they've actually broken away a little bit at the moment from Sven de Vries in 6th place.
Francic just made some moves as well. He's just gone up from P9 to P7 in the space of 1 straight. He's just gone past Riera and Ruiz. So the medium downforce package proving deadly in the early stages of this race. At least you can only wonder what Cantonen would have made for it if he didn't miss his braking zone. Good little move there from Lars Brugman, however. Now he is really set about catching Risto Capit. Look at the pace at which he has caught down the Estonian. He's left Jason Muscat for dead almost. However, the real problem will come this lap. Now it's lap 3 we're heading on to of 41, so DRS will be in effect. That said, how much effect will it have on a medium downforce package we are going to see now?
I think someone's disappeared. I think Borja Milan has disappeared off my screen, so I think he's out of the race. Yes, he is. He's out. But Capit, look at that. Look at the gap he's got between himself and
Incredible.
Brugman. I know DRS isn't active down there, but you can just see how he's able to pull out down the straight. And, well, that's going to help him at the moment. But I'm going to be fascinated when the DRS really pops into play and whether that advantage for Capit will stay there or whether he'll lose it all.
DRS was in effect. It's lap 3. The DRS was on, Sam.
Oh, okay. Oh, of course, they would have crossed the line first before the DRS, wouldn't they? Yes, you're right, absolutely. So even then, there was still
He's pulling away.
No trouble. Round here, though, round this middle sector here, this is where he really struggles. All these fast-flowing corners, left, right again, and then into another left. That's where, look at that. Brugman's really catching him up. But again, he's got another straight just to pull out a little bit before the braking zone. And Brugman's close, but he's certainly not able to challenge.
I think this might be a race that's decided on strategy, Sam, at this very early stage. I mean, you can see how much the other guys have catched up there. So, or caught up, I should say. Let's use proper grammar. James, Muscat, Hosham, Polotczek, all catching up during that second sector phase. But then, let's look at this again in more detail. Down the front straight, Lars Brugman's DRS, in effect, so we know that it is open, in inverted commas there, and still, Risto Capit pulling away. So, yeah, I struggle to see how Lars Brugman is going to overtake Capit at this stage without a mistake from the Estonian, because he was closer this time, fair play, than last time, but there's just no impact on him.
Yeah, weird. I don't know what's going on, whether it's a glitch on my screen or something, but I'm not seeing Brugman's rear wing close. So I don't know if he's actually, he's surely not just sitting there, is he? Does he think that if he passes Capit will just get him back again? I don't know, but it didn't look like he was using DRS to me, and well, he maybe just thinks that he can use the toe to stick behind Capit for a while, but he's going to damage his tyres doing that, following him through all these very high load corners.
All I'm going to say to that is, why wouldn't he be using his DRS? Because Jason Muscat's within a second as well. So if he wasn't using his DRS to defend, then Jason Muscat would have him for breakfast.
He would, you'd think, but of course, getting a toe off the car ahead is still going to give you some benefit, even without the DRS. I know it becomes cumulative as the car behind then also gets the toe off you, but nonetheless, it kind of reduces the effect to an extent. So I'm not
his DRS is definitely in effect this time. I've had a look right on the rear wing camera myself, and still, it's whether it's different methods or not, same result. Risto Capit pulls out further. He's not escaping that second DRS gap by any stretch of the imagination, but his defending is effortless. He doesn't even need to move the car to defend off Lars Brugman.
No, absolutely not. You could just hear it from the pitch of the engine as well. If you go on board, you could just tell that Capit is running that slight little bit faster down the straight. And I guess he's really got his gearing all set up for being expecting to hit those high speeds. I doubt it would make too much of a difference if he sat behind another driver and used DRS. He's got that little wing on the rear of the car. But it has given us certainly an interesting concept in this early few laps. The top 5 are all fairly close together, all within DRS range of each other. So they're all pulling each other along. And this is potentially leading up to some quite tasty racing once some of the tyres go off, as Brugman just snatches a brake a little bit there going into the stadium section, but doesn't run into the back of Capit and actually stays relatively close to him.
De Vries, by the way, all in a world of his own, pretty much, the American in P6. He's 2 seconds behind Polotczek, and he's 2 seconds ahead of the man in 7th, which still remains David Frančić, who's sort of leading off the second SRS train, except this one is much smaller, only really containing Argenis Riera there in P8, Ruiz P9, and Dino Paolini. Not had the best of starts at all. Started P3 in this race, or side P4 I should say, sorry. Fallen to P10, so he's not really fared well in his opening laps. Mlinik 11th, Shepard 12th. And actually, there's a nice, neat little battle here between 4 cars. We've got Mlinik, Shepard, Yunt from P20 to P13, so the Switzers had a good start. And Dennis Jordan from the very back of the grid, P23 the German started, up into the top 15 as well. And behind you've got Maurice Brackhand and Scott Beresford scrapping away by the final point. So further down the order, the racing certainly looks a lot more tasty, whereas further up, it seems that Lars Brugman is trying every which way to get past Capit without reward. I considered holding my words there, because there goes Capit with a mistake. It looked like Brugman was really piling on the pressure that time around, to no avail, of course, as we head into turn 12. But I don't know, Sam. If I was Lars Brugman, I would only consider overtaking Capit before Sector 2. Because if you overtake him during Sector 2, you're not going to have enough time to get away from him before he overtakes you in the DRS zone again.
Yeah, exactly. I think down here, down the main straight, Capit would easily gobble up any driver that was ahead of him. And right now, he's just holding his own down the straight. And, well, no one's going to challenge him, that's for sure, into turn 1. It'd have to be an absolutely crazy dive bomb. It would be pretty ridiculous. And just from looking at the live timing that is available on GPVWC.com, I noticed that Jason Muscat was setting the best lap last time around, so it shows that even sat in Brugman's dirty A, he's still picking up a good tow from the 2 drivers ahead and being able to challenge as well. And these top 4 very close together, with Plotzek just a little bit further behind. I'm just waiting for something to happen, really. Surely someone's gonna have to try and make a move at some point.
Well, look how close Brugman is again as we head into Sector 2. I do notice that the battle pretty much between P11 and P16 at this point is very tasty as well, but you can see here Lars Brugman all over the back of Capit. Maybe he is just trying to force a mistake out of the Estonian. He's definitely close, and I imagine he might be able to have a little peek out if he was brave. Not going to do it this time around, though. And now he's reeled Jason Muscat into the fight as well. The 3 of them almost going nose to tail through the stadium section. Wilke Hoekstra just watching brief at the moment. But Lars Brugman has got to be careful. I think it's pretty clear to us, at least, that through Sector 2, Capit is really proving to have a very negative effect on his race. And now look at Jason Muscat. DRS open in effect. Can he overtake Lars Brugman down this straight? Can he retake the P2, which he was so ready to earn in that opening exchange? He's down the inside of turn 1. Brugman brakes later. No, Muscat brakes late as well, but Brugman holds on just for now. That's some stoic defending from the man who's on the brink of a championship.
Yeah, that was certainly a case of 1 minute attacking and the next defending, and just pointed out by our ever-wise cameraman that, of course, Capit will be struggling with his rear tyres because of the lack of downforce. He'll certainly be having to use more of the mechanical grip of the tyres through this run, and maybe that could affect the way things are going to go later on in this run as we edge towards the pit stops. We're only about a third of the way through the first run of the race, effectively. But once again, you can see that Capit's lost out through this middle section, and Brugman's not too far behind, but just got no chance of actually being able to challenge him into the stadium section. Just can't brake late enough to have a go. And looking further down the field, everyone's kind of spread out a little bit more. So certainly this front few drivers are the closest battle we've got on track right now.
And maybe Ben Willis should be doing our job, Sam, because he's just found another overtake, or another potential talking point, which we completely missed there. Scott Beresford just getting past Maurice Bracan for P15, P16 there. And actually the Englishman right on the back of Chris Shepherd, who's fallen down from inside the top 10 to P14. So an inter-English battle there. As once again up the front, Lars Brugman still unable to get past Capit, but I would hesitate to say closer than previous laps. And so I wonder how we're going to get down into this braking zone. Yeah, it's definitely braking later, Brugman, and I do worry for Capit in his tyre wear, because if it is wearing it out as much as we think here in the commentary box, then surely something is going to have to give. And yeah, I'm convinced that Brugman is certainly closer on this approach into Sector 2, heading through turn 7, 8, and then 9 on exit, and then it's straight into the right-hander of 10, followed by 11. It has a really nasty bump there, and Capit having to go off track to defend his position there. Exceeding track limits, you're allowed to do it with a couple of liberties here at GPVWC in the race, as long as it's not, abusing the rules terribly. Once again, Jason Muscat closes up, but once again, it remains status quo as we exit the stadium section. I wonder, however, whether Capit's really starting to struggle with those traction out of slow corner moments, because look at that, once again, Lars Brugman, nice and close. He's not going to be overtaking because of that difference in downforce package, but I think something is starting to give with that Street Fighter car.
Yeah, his lap times aren't looking good at all. He's already nearly a second off his best lap, and I think that's just showing that he's struggling with his tyres so early on in this run. And Brugman is going to have to be patient, because I think he's just going to have to wait for Capit to make one small mistake out of one of these corners, and that could give him an opportunity to strike it up the inside and get past him, maybe coming out of a traction zone. But of course he'll have to try and then hold it down a long straight as well, so it's not going to be easy even if he gets past. And while it's certainly keeping everyone bunched up all together at the front as well, as we go once again into this very tight, twisty middle sector.
Need always really mounting the curbs as Lars Brugman. He's a very quiet type, a very, I guess, unassuming champion would Lars Brugman be. He's going all Yoda there as well, but you know, he's not the sort of guy to get his elbows out. He's very calm, very collected. He doesn't really have that sort of predator's instinct, so to speak. You know, he's a very Eric Strana-like character, I guess, in touring cars, where he's happy to let other people battle around him. He's just going to pick up the pieces afterwards. That's where he gets a lot of his points, beside his raw speed, of course, which is incredibly impressive. It just seems like there's no way past for him, and here comes Jason Muscat. Once again, he's going to leave himself open to all these opportunities to the Maltese driver. He defends fair enough into turn one there. Lap 11:41 though. When will the undercut come? That is my next question. Is further down the order, sorry, a further overtake going on. There is actually an overtake going on, I should say. Dino Paolini just getting past our Genus Riera there for P9 and P10, and further down as well, David Junt having a great race. I mean, we talk about Capit defending nicely. David Junt's moved up from P20 up to P11, and there comes Dennis Jordan as well up the inside, and Masai Mlinik. The two of them going side by side into turn, get right there, James, P4 and turn 5. Turn 4 and turn 5. Cold's messing with my brain. Mlinik holding on for now. And Scott Beresford has now moved up into P14, actually. Chris Shepard fallen out of the points, unfortunately, the Team Proline fill-in. He's out of the points, but Scott Beresford and Bracken have both benefited. They're up to 14 and 15, respectively.
Here we go, Lars Brugman up the inside of Capit in the stadium section.
He
lined him up and just stuck it up the inside. He's got past, but now this is critical. Can Lars Brugman keep ahead of Capit down this main pit straight? Capit gets loose, and he's really holding up the guys behind him as well. Look at that, Brugman's already got fairly decent advantage over Capit, but Capit is coming down the pit straight, and look at those wings. They're certainly not holding him back. It's like he's on DRS, he's got boost, he's got everything. He's launched his way past Lars Brugman, and we're back to how it was between the top two, but Hoster has actually got past Muscat, but Muscat's back up the inside. They're still side by side. There's a bit of contact. Oh, and Muscat's actually lost out because of it. He lost 2 places. Yeah, he turned in a little bit too much there. Jason and Wupke Hoekstra and Tobias Polocek have both benefited, but here goes Lugman. What am I talking about? Lars Brugman on the inside. Oh, and Capit around the outside now at turn 5. As Lars Brugman got past before 62. Oh, that was a little bit of elbows out, wasn't it? But I tell you what, that is the place where he wanted to overtake, because now he can use his wings to his full advantage through sector 2. And was that Cabby going off the road slightly? I think it was just my lag. But look at this now. Lars Brugman striding away like a prancing horse, and the gap further expanding. The question is, will it be enough to defend off Capit as we exit the stadium section? I mean, Brugman had a pretty sizable gap coming out of the section last lap around, but even then Capit was still over to overtake, and it seems to me that Capit's just taken the section a lot better than Brugman anyway. Yeah, Brugman knew he had to stay ahead going into the middle sector, because that's where he could try and pull out a lead on Capit, but Capit isn't too far behind. And here we go, DRS has been activated by Capit, and once again he's just gonna breeze past Brugman. Brugman goes to the inside. It's like he's letting him through. There's nothing he can do about Capit right there, but he's just gonna have to try and hold close to him and get him back into turn 4 again.
Are we going to have the most overtakes for the lead this race, I wonder? Because it's certainly setting it up that way, isn't it? So now the DRS with Lars Brugman, of course, in down to turn 4. No attempt to overtake this time. But look at Wopke Hoekstra now, taking up the mantle from Jason Muscat before him. He's going to close in himself. Polotzek a little bit behind, Muscat a little bit behind. Perhaps more crucially, however, and what could add a little extra spice to this lovely curry that we got going, Sven de Vries, only 2.5 seconds off the lead, so the American starting to find some pace himself as well. Here goes Lars Brugman now, once again haunting the back of Risto Capit. And will he look to make another move into the stadium section, I wonder, into turn 12? No peaks out here. What about into the turn 13 hairpin? He's caught Capit out before, not looking like he's going to catch him out again. It's a fascinating race, though, isn't it? I don't think we've ever really seen anything on this scale. We've seen it when different downforce packages meet, but the last time I remember it having a serious effect on the race was back in Canada, where we had a few people trying the high downforce package on what was a medium downforce field. That worked out okay for those guys. They were very consistent, but it didn't work out so well for a couple of them, and now it seems to be the other way around. Now the medium downforce package is looking great as Jason Muscat works his way back past Tobias Polotzek into P4 there, into turn 1, leaving him to the mercy of Sven de Vries himself. A nice little bit of composure there from the Maltese driver, looking to get back on the podium.
As look at this, Brugman up on the inside of Capit once again, going into turn 4, but turn 5 will be Capit's corner, but Brugman gets good launch out of the corner, and he's going to take the position again. So now Brugman has to try this once again for what is the 3rd time. He's got to get a good run through these next complex of corners and just pull out a lead on Capit. That's the only way he's going to stay ahead. Otherwise, we know he's going to get reeled back in as we go on to the next lap, and he's done a good job so far. Runs a little bit wide there, coming out of the final left-hander down this back straight before the stadium section. But will it be enough? We're just going to have to wait and see, as Sven de Vries has got himself into 5th place also, and he's starting to make his way through these cars now.
I don't think it's enough again. It's still less than a second. Let's see when we cross the line. 0.8 of a second. It's not enough. Mr. Cap is going to have DRS once again. I think this is by far and away the best exit that Brugman has had out of the stadium section. And actually, I wonder... Oh, it's closer than before, isn't it? Brugman actually doing some defending. And he's going to break a little later into turn 1. Mr. Capit around the outside, though. And oh, look at that. Brugman has defended successfully. For the first time this race, Lars Brugman holds on to the lead. For how long again, though? Because now Capit's got the second amount of DRS. And here comes Wopke Hoekstra as well to join in on the fun. Capit takes P1 once again. And Brugman fends off Wopke Hoekstra, just about to get P2. And de Vries is round. That was contact with Jason Muscat there. And he's having real trouble getting around there now. And Jason Muscat's through on Wopke Hoekstra as well. Madness coming in the top 6 there. And all of a sudden, Brugman and Capit have been let loose like chickens out of a coop. They're running for their lives. No longer do they have the worry of 4 cars behind them. It's just them two now. It's like a nice romantic date, except this one, I think, is going to have a couple of claws out by the end of it.
Yeah, once again, Brugman is eyeing up Capit's gearbox and thinking about sticking it up the inside. And what was fantastic defending through turns 1, 2 and 3 nearly turned into a disaster for Brugman, as he had no momentum at all going up to turn 4 and somehow held on to second. And what's critical is it's really cost Sven de Vries. He's all the way back down in 10th place now behind Argenis Riera as well. And well, that could really sew up the championship. It all depends on what happens with Brugman up front here. He's right behind Capit. It's actually staying with him pretty well right now. So he looks
he's going for it.
Turn 1.
Well, the high downforce package has overtaken the low downforce package, and I'm not quite sure how physics allowed that, but it did. I have Capit's tyres well and truly gone by this stage, because it seemed, Lars Brugman had no trouble there pulling ahead of Capit either, who would have had DRS. So I reckon those rears have fully gone now, and that does not bode well for Capit late race, because this is only lap 16 of 41, and there is no harder tyre compound to go on to either.
Yeah, he's going to have to struggle through about another 5 or 6 laps before he can change these tyres, and then has to do the whole stint all over again in the second half of the race. And while I can see Brugman staying out a bit longer and really making sure that he gains an even bigger advantage over the guys around him, and that could be really what wins him the race, is my prediction today, as James Wilson leaves. So he's retired. He retired ages ago.
Yeah. I didn't actually mention it. I apologise. But yeah, James Wilson had retired a while ago, so both Kayana's out as that happens as well. So apologies, but look at this now. Risto Capit out of DRS range. It says here 1.078 seconds. So I actually know. Yeah, the zone would have been before the line, wouldn't it? So that actually, what that's a good indicator of is that Brugman is getting a much better exit out of the stadium section than Risto Capit, but Risto Capit is still able to stay within that 1 second at various points through the lap. That said, Brugman's been in the lead quite a while now, and so I think that it might be very difficult for the Estonian at this stage to retake that until the pit stops behind. Muscat still holding on to P3 ahead of Hoekstra and Polotsek. Frančić up into P6 with Sven de Vries's contact with Muscat, of course. Egaru 7th, Paulini 8th, Riera 9th, with de Vries now back in P10. Junt 11th, Jordan 12th. He's got past Masai Mlinik. So that's further progression from the German behind Mlinik. Scott Beresford trying to make his way through as well. Maurice Bracan a lonely P15 at the moment, with Shepard, Kumar, Fuller, Klont and Hinz rounding out the rest of the field. Your retirements so far: Wilson, Milan, Parkin and Kantonen, as Lars Brugman exits the final couple of corners to head onto lap 18 of 41. We're almost at the halfway stage once again. Risto Capit this time most definitely out of DRS range.
Yeah, I think that's maybe his challenge over now. I just don't think he'll be able to catch back up with Lars Brugman down this straight, and well, it should be plain sailing for Brugman into turn 1, and certainly it is. Not challenged whatsoever, but he's still, the two of them still have a fair lead over Jason Muscat, as Maurice Bracan has retired from the race.
That was a DNF, disconnect.
Yes. Oh no, he actually spun coming out the penultimate corner and hit the inside wall. Yes.
That is my replay fidelity for you. I just saw him disconnect, so a real shame for Maurice Bracan there, running in the points, but that 15th place will now be inherited by Chris Shepard, who's actually having a decent little battle with Naranjan Kumar, so even that last point position is up for grabs, as Thomas Hinz also retires from the race after pulling it in. So 2 retirements in the space of 1 lap. We're now up to 6 out of 24.
Yep, there's only a few guys that aren't in the points, so who knows, it could be a day for a few guys to get some more points on the board that don't usually score some points, as it looks like Edgar Ariv is all over the back of David Frančić right here, and Frančić too on that medium downforce setting is probably struggling with his tyres right now, with only a couple more laps to do until the pits, so he's going to have to try and hold on to this and keep Ruiv and Paolini, who's also lurking further behind, just behind him, until the pit stops, where he can get a new fresh set of tyres and try and attack and maybe push on and close the gap between himself and the top 5, which is certainly big, as Hoekstra is actually looking up the inside of Jason Muscat and passes him into turn 1.
Yeah, that looks pretty easy for the Dutchman. I think Jason Muscat just wants to hold position now. There's been a couple of adventures between those top 5. Top 6 if you want to include De Vries before, of course. But David Frančić is in a very interesting position, isn't he? He's the first guy who's in with a chance of that reverse grid pole position, as Ruiz is off. And where was that? That was down at turn 3. And he just spun about the corner and he ran across the track. De Vries almost collecting the Spaniard. And I'll tell you what, he is a lucky boy to still have his front wing on his car. He's got it. He's got it. So he's down in P14. So his teammate Mlinik and Beresford have both gotten past him. And I wonder whether he has picked up a little bit of suspension damage there, Ruiz. Starting to fall behind Beresford and Mlinik now. But as I say, lucky to keep his front wing at least. Back up to the top lot, though.
Oh, Shepard's off as well.
No one pitting, as apparently Shepard is off, and oh yeah, that looks like a heavier thing. Looks like he's done a Vettel, hasn't he, from the first year back here, and that'll allow the Indian Naranjan Kumar into the top 15. So proving a difficult circuit, it seems, for a lot of drivers, Sam. Everyone seeming to find faults throughout it, as Jason Muscat there easing past Wupke Hoekstra in the DRS zone once again, not even having to overtake before we head to turn 1, as David Yunt and Edgar Ruiz after that spin become our first pitters of the day.
Yeah, both into the pits. No surprises that Ruiz has gone in. He looks like he's got a bit... no, actually not too bad of a pit stop there. It's about normal time, so not too much damage to try and fix. We'll see if he can recover now, or whether the suspension damage will be too much for him. Depends really on how hard he hit that wall. It did look like quite a hit, didn't it? But we'll see what happens now, as the rest of these guys will certainly be thinking about pitting as well. And Capit, to be fair to him, has kept in contact with Brugman, so he's given himself a chance once he does pit along with Brugman, and you never know, he could, on better, fresher tyres, attack Brugman once again, and this battle could rage on between the two, as it certainly did. It kept us entertained for the first 15 or 16 laps. It was thoroughly entertaining. And just looking through the field as well, it looks like Scott Beresford is having to defend a little bit, but looking fairly comfortable in 11th.
He's actually gotten past Mlinic, actually, as Risto Capit there comes into the pits from P2. So he has lasted longer, and oh, David Francis coming in as well. Are they going to double stack here? Or is David Francis going to have to wait? Oh, he is. It's only by a couple of seconds, so very close. But he does have to wait. Sven de Vries also in. Riera also in. And so now seems to be the time. Lap 21 of 41 we're on. And oh, is Argenis Riera going to jump David Frančić? Very close out of the pits. And, well, Naranjan Kumar, Riera's teammate, goes flying by. He has yet to pit. But David Frančić almost losing out there after a slightly botched double stop. A very lucky man.
Yeah, really close. Just getting out of in front of Argenis Riera, and that was critical really. He didn't want to be held up going into that first lap behind another driver, and we'll see what he could do. He's also got Kumar ahead, but he's on older tyres, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Now it's going to be interesting to see how long Brugman stays out for. He's done a very good job this season of just staying out a little bit longer than those around him, or he's snatched a break there going into the stadium and got a bit loose. He's done a very good job of staying out longer than some guys around him, and that's usually what's given him an advantage. And he decides to go into the pit, so only one lap longer than Capit.
Hoekstra, Muscat, and Polotzik all go around again. Surprised by that, actually, because Brugman was faster in qualifying, and so you'd expect that he'd be doing naturally faster race times anyway. Not looking to risk it, though. Paulini through. Jordan through, Beresford through, Mlinic through, and then here comes Risto Capit. Brugman comes out miles ahead of Capit, of course. It's something to say that, but now we've got the full straight to worry about. And look at Brugman, he's come out right into the midst of a lot of traffic here behind Beresford and Mlinic, both of whom are having a battle themselves, and they have no reason whatsoever to get out of the way of Brugman here. This is a battle for position. And there is Risto Capit in the background. Fresh tyres on. The assault begins once again.
Yeah, that's interesting, because Brugman's going to be held up around the places that he's got a huge advantage on Capit, and that's the corners, of course. And really right now, he's certainly having to just hold back a little bit. I'm sure he'd want to be pushing a bit harder, and this is allowing Capit to keep within range of Brugman, and surely think about making an assault at the start of the next lap. But once we get back into the DRS zones, where Capit is so strong, he's running wide, he's definitely pushing hard, and Brugman is going to have to be looking in his mirrors anytime soon. So the top three have all stayed out once again, so that's really surprising.
Paulini in though.
Yes, he is.
So he's looking to get a jump on them. Perhaps what about Jordan behind? Is he going to follow suit? No. He's going around again. So the Evolution is showing some good tyre life. Beresford in. He's going to try and undercut Mlinic to gain an advantage. Mlinic staying on, though, which will once again prove bad for Lars Brugman, because here comes Risto Capit with DRS in effect. So Lars Brugman will have DRS himself to defend. coming off Mlinick, but Risto Kappe is like Jaws, isn't he? Just keeps on coming back for more. This time, however, Lars Brugman looks to break around the outside of Mlinick, and he has got him. That's a really nice move from the Dutchman, and he's managed to get a car in between himself and the Estonian. I'd say that could not have worked any better for him.
Yeah, he put a lot of faith in Mlinick there to hope that he wouldn't make a mistake and run wide going into turn one, and Mlinick, well, he did exactly what he had to do. He just held it on the apex, and that was good driving by both drivers, and that's given Brugman a little bit of a buffer now between himself and Kappe, because Kappe is going to be stuck here. I can't see him challenging Mlinick through any of these corners, so all of a sudden it looks like Kappe is going to be the one that's losing out in traffic out of the two race contenders.
Just looking back up to the front here, the top three still within a second of each other. Will any of them pit? No. Polotczek decides now is the time. And why not as well? Both of the guys have gone on ahead of him. Might as well try and get the undercut. His teammate Jordan, excuse me, will probably want to go round again, as he does. So Jordan goes around for another lap, as does Mlinick as well, in the midst of this Brugman-Kappe encounter. And really, Polotczek wants to get out ahead of Paolini, which he does very comfortably. So the German back out into P7. Looking very good for Tobias, I must say. Is you've said an oh wow. What
Brugman has been overtaken by Mlinick.
He has. I completely missed that.
Down the straight, Mlinick just breezed past Brugman, so he's keeping these tyres well, and managed to pick up another position over someone he shouldn't really be racing, but he's perfectly entitled to.
Oh, here comes
Kappe attack Brugman.
And, he's going to get it done as well, right around the outside. He's on the inside of the apex. Don't Bottas Raikkonen it. He's forced the issue, Risto Kappe, and his force has paid diligence. He is ahead of Lars Brugman into the crucial area which he needs to be. Masai Mlinick. People will say, oh, what's he doing, ruining the racing? He had every right to go for that position, and why not? He's pulling away even further now, gaining time on Scott Beresford, who's tried to undercut him a couple of laps ago. Risto Kappe will probably want to be paying a nice Halloween visit to Masai Mlinick's house, not exactly to take candy from him, but to give him all the candy he wants, because he's helped him out a bunch here. As a Hoekstra pits from P2.
Certainly, and this has probably also helped out the likes of Hoekstra and Muscat as well, because Kappe and Brugman are only losing time. They're only about 3 seconds ahead of Polotczek as they go down the straight once again. And it looks like, they just come out ahead of Polotczek, sorry, not Polotczek, Hoekstra, of course, who's also come out ahead of Polotczek.
Is Brugman going to have a go here? Oh, he had to be pretty reactive there. That was some cheeky moving under braking from Risto Kappe. The DC head in my ear whispering, not happy with that. So a little bit naughty there from Risto Kappe. From what I saw, I'd say that was just within the limits, and I mean barely, but you can tell that he's quite eager to hold on to this lead, isn't he? As Masai Mlinick still going round. Impressive tyre wear coming from the Polish driver, and actually, from what I can tell of the pit straight or the pit times here, might prove dividends. He might actually yet get ahead of Scott Beresford in that battle for P12 overall. I remind you, that is where Mlinick was fighting, so showing some incredible speed as well as tyre wear, the pole.
Yeah, that shows for race 2 as well. It certainly could be interesting if we get quite a few cars in the reverse grid. As Jason Muscat now has pitted in from the lead, so it's only Jordan and Mlinick who are between Kappe and the lead of the race once again.
Mlinick goes round again, lap 26 of 41. Incredible stuff. Where's Muscat figure into all of this, though? He's coming out the pits now, and here comes Hoekstra. He's going to get him, and Polotczek's going to mug him as well. So staying out for longer has not worked for Jason Muscat, at least not yet, as Risto Kappe is past Masai Mlinick. He needed to get that done now, and all of a sudden it's fortunes reversed for the Dutchman.
Yep, because now Mlinick is between himself and Brugman, and well, let's see if Brugman can get him into turn 4. He needs to. Brugman had a look, so you could tell from the urgency that Brugman really wants to get Mlinick out the way. so he can go back and chase after Capit. And that's really going to be the key, is Brugman's going to have to stay near Capit and wait for Capit's tyres to hopefully go off like they did in the first race from Brugman's perspective, to be able to take him once again and take the lead, as I think there's been a few shakers further down the field.
David just got past Genus Riera. That's for P10. Will be P9 overall. So from 20th to 9th, David Junt having a splendid evening is the Swiss driver. And furthermore, Dennis Jordan out. Dennis Jordan out. What happened to him? Was that a disconnect? I think so. Unless that's my replay going again. As Mlinic is in, finally. So Risto Capit is let loose. 9/10 free of Lars Brugman. Now it's Hoekstra and Polotzek P3 and 4. Muscat P5. Paulini will come through for P6. Francic will retake P7. So actually, Dino Paulini in the pit stops has gained massively there. As P3 on the ropes once again. And Polotzek is through on Brugman. So Polotzek, we talk about Junt having a good evening. Polotzek's doing mightily fine. He's onto the podium. Francic 7th, De Vries 8th, Junt 9th, Riera rounding out the top 10. And Mlinic, it has not worked for him. He comes out just ahead of his teammate Edgar Ruiz, but crucially for him, behind Scott Beresford, who is into P11. So he's actually moved his way up the field quite nicely as well, Beresford, thanks in part to that Jordan retirement. Kumar's 14th, Shepard is 15th, Fuller and Clont, the only people not scoring points as of yet.
Yes, it's certainly starting to get very, very interesting. Now it's a straight fight between Brugman and Capit. They're both by themselves on the track, effectively. No traffic around them to affect their little battle now, and Brugman is already onto the back of Capit through all these tight, slow and fast corners. Brugman's got the advantage, but down the straight, Capit is still there and able to pull away. But don't rule out Polotzek and Hoekstra. They're only a couple of seconds down the road, and this infighting between the top two has certainly allowed them to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And as our commentary team is having a little inter-conversation here, it should be worth noting, actually, very quickly, looks like Hoekstra's just got past Tobias Polotzek there once again for the podium position. You can tell the two cars apart by either the yellow highlights or the white highlights. Hoekstra moving back into P3, but as it stands, Lars Brugman, whether he wins this race or not, will be driver's champion. Remember, Sven de Vries has to score at least second position from this race to be in with a chance of bringing the title over into race 2. He's only P8, and even worse, he's 13 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, that spin earlier on after getting caught up in the stack up with the top 6 when Capit and Brugman were battling away certainly cost him, and it looks like he's improved now because he's got a new fresh set of tyres on, and it's probably helping him out, but struggling a little bit as Brugman is right on the tail of Capit going to the stadium section. I thought he was going to jump out there and stick it up the inside, but he thought better of it, and maybe he thinks he's got a better chance if he gets Capit in sector 1. Although again, look how close he is. Capit, he's either looking after his tyres very well, already he's showing signs of struggle.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but I tell you what I am sure of. This has proven to be an absolutely cracking race so far, and the difference in downforce packages has made it even more so. The same pattern repeats itself, however. Risto Capit does stay ahead of Lars Brugman, who's only been able to overtake Capit once into that braking zone with DRS in effect. But look at that. Capit's gone wide at turn 3, and that could invite Lars Brugman up the inside of turn 4, I wonder. Heading down there now into the braking zone. Will Lars Brugman look out? He had a thought. He thought about it, didn't he? Decided that discretion was the better part of valor, and given that he would be winning the championship in this position, why would you risk your car in such a way?
Yeah, certainly. It's no point doing anything silly now, especially when really it could all change out over these next few laps as the tyres really take effect. As Scott Beresford and Mlinic are side by side through turn 4 and turn 5. Beresford's got the outside, and it looks like he's just going to keep ahead of Mlinic. Mlinic, so close to his rear wing there. Going into turn 6, I thought it was potentially going to spin Scott Beresford round, but a good close battle between the two, and Edgar Ruiz looks on from behind as well. It's actually a good freeway scrap right now, but Beresford has managed to hold on to his position.
Yeah, fending off the TG onslaught. To remind you, the other point scorers outside of the top 10, Kumar and Shepherd, of course. Those not the positions which get reversed for race 2, however. It's a randomized number between 6 and 10. Those positions currently filled out by Paulini, Francic, De Vries, Riera and Yunt, of which I should note as well, actually, that De Vries seems to be closing on David Francic, so perhaps a battle to flare up there later as well. As back to the front once again, Lars Brugman, like a persistent wasp at this point, isn't he? He stings here, he stings there, and really struggling on the brakes there to stop it in time without crashing into the back of Risto Capit. I tend to agree with you, Sam, actually. I reckon Risto is trying to save his tyres here. In doing so, Lars Brugman's got to be very careful because he doesn't want too many more of those moments.
Yeah, Capit hasn't done a single quick lap really this entire run. He's doing mid-27s where he could go quicker at least on fresh tyres. So perhaps just trying to look after them, eke out another 5 laps worth of tyre wear. And, well, Brugman's just having to just keep it together really, because he could easily just stick it into the back of Capit going into some of these braking zones. It's that close between the two, and this is really allowing Hoekstra to catch up. He's only 1.7 seconds behind the leader now, and that gap seems to be visibly much closer, so we could end up with another 4-way scrap here if things continue as they are.
Yeah, of course, dragging Polotzek with him. I do wonder whether the mentalities. I noticed actually that Menno Klont has just retired from this race as well. So that leaves Mark Fuller as the only person on track not scoring points currently. I do wonder whether there is this mentality now with Lars Brugman. If he's going to win the championship, he wants to win it with a race win this evening. Do you reckon it is difficult to repress that feeling, as I see Masai Mlinek has finally made his way past Scott Beresford? That was down into turn 1. But yeah, is it just that racer's mentality, Sam, that you want to keep on pushing yourself and keep on doing better? Because, like I say, he could just happily drive behind Risto Capit, not threatening him whatsoever, and he'd win the championship without risking his car.
I think right now Brugman kind of knows that he doesn't actually have that much to lose. It doesn't matter if he wins or crashes out right now, because De Vries is all the way down in 8th place and stuck behind the other Street Fighter racing.
Anything can happen though,
yeah,
Sam.
Of course it can.
It's racing. Of
course it can. But again, I'm sure Brugman's not. It's certainly not like it's last race of the season. It's not like it's all on the line for him. So that's probably not too far forwards in his mind right now. I think right now he probably feels that he's better than Capit and he could beat him in this race, and that's why he's going for it, at least with everything that he can go for it without binning it.
We of course have all the time and no pressure whatsoever to just sit here talking about what sort of mentalities do these drivers have. These guys are actually racing, and looking at Brugman now, it seems like he's in with another chance of overtaking Capit into turn 4. He goes for the outside this time, looking to force pressure from Capit, who runs him slightly off the road, as behind, looks like Polotzek's having a little nibble at Hoekstra, not able to do anything either. A little bit naughty from Capit. I think he did force his rival off the road there, and we've seen him already going a little bit on the line in his defence as well. It is, I say, perhaps is Brugman risking his car a bit too much, as he lights up the rears through turn 10 there. Is Capit defending too hard? I know there's a race win on the line here, of course, but the team championship is done and over with.
Yeah, you can certainly see that he basically just ran Brugman off the road going into the approach of turn 5 because he had to avoid Brugman from getting the inside into turn 5, because then the corner was lost for Capit and he would have certainly lost position. I think Capit realises right now he has to stay ahead of Brugman to win this race. I know it sounds stupid, but it's that simple. If Brugman gets ahead of him and Capit can't retake him immediately down this long pit straight, then that's effectively game over, because Brugman will have the track position and have the better tyre wear going into these final few laps. And well, that's what it's really all about, as the two guys behind, also Hoekstra and Plotzek, are still continuing to battle. But that certainly means that they're falling backwards again now, and Muscat's caught up with the two.
Brugman.
So after looking a bit losing it. As,
he's going fully
sorry.
around the outside. Here we go. Yep. And he's done it. That's nice and clean as they come. Lars Brugman retakes the lead of the Supercup Mexican first race here. And now he's into his home sector, lap 33 of 41. So 8 until the end, effectively. 8.5 if you count this lap. That is the move that he needed to get done. And look at how far away he is pulling already through that sector. The bottle cork has been well and truly sprung. The wine is pouring out. Should we say the champagne, since it's racing, of course?
Yeah.
Although look at that, actually. Riera's gone. Oh, and what was that? Was that a flat disconnect, I wonder?
Having a look. And yeah, it was.
Oh,
Absolutely
what a shame. And so all of a sudden, that puts massive interest in that battle between Linnick and Beresford, because that, of course, now encompasses the potential reverse grid slots. As Capit looks to retake Brugman without effort whatsoever, cutting across Brugman very aggressively. I'm sure he didn't mean it to be that aggressive or dynamic as we saw on our screens, but oh, that was close.
It certainly was, but once again, Brugman's back on his tail. And going up to turn 4, he's looking like the quicker of the two drivers once again. So it's going to be another Brugman-Capit battle, just continuing on. And the other two behind, Plotzek and Hoekstra, I believe they switch positions also in the background. And just to point out one other thing, we're about to have, for only the third time this season, we're about to have a Mark Fuller in the points party.
Oh, yes. He's got to make it to 90% now. 90% race distance, and he makes it. And I'm just getting my calculator out for that now. I'm sure it's like 39 laps or something along those lines. Let's just have a little look here. Wrong, 37 laps, and he makes it. So fingers crossed for you, Mark. Fingers crossed. What? Sorry, Ben? Is there traffic up ahead? Yes, Fuller is about to pretend in this battle as well. I've just got Sebastian Vettel. Blue flags going on. That's American going on in my head. But yeah, he's about to get involved in this battle between Capit and Brugman as well. Although that said, Capit is really starting to pull ahead as Jason Muscat piling further pressure onto Upke Hoekstra. He's through into P4.
Yep, Muscat certainly turned it on. Hey, he's turned it on, hasn't he, since the pit stop? He's been doing some very good lap times as Muscat, and well, he's got past Hoekstra now, and he'll be looking for Plotzek, who's only just another second up the road. And Mark Fuller's out the way.
Great back marking.
Well, yeah, very well there for Mark Fuller, getting out of everyone's way. He's still off the track. He knows he just needs to get to the line, and he can start partying with another point, and very, very fairly keeps out of the way of the front runners.
Big thumbs up from me. He's come under a bit of criticism for his back marking this year, but that's what we like to see. Nice and fully out the way. Why stay on track when you've got all that lovely runoff area to utilise? Really doesn't matter though, because Lars Brugman's right onto the back of Risto Capit again. I know that apparently P7 is quite close as well, but Lars Brugman right on the back of Risto Capit. Will we see the second DRS overtake with different packages this time around? Perhaps. It doesn't look that way, does it? Risto Capit pulling away even more.
Yep, certainly doesn't look like it'll be anything apart from a real late break. But one thing that might happen is Sven de Vries is behind David Frančić, but once again, Frančić has got the medium downforce setting, and he's surely going to pull away down this pit straight, and then certainly he does that, and that just means that de Vries cannot catch him into turn 1, and we'll have to sit there in 8th for a little while longer. And the more and more this goes on, the more and more it looks like the championship challenge is over for de Vries. He's going to have to do something spectacular, or just hope that everyone has a huge pile up ahead of him.
It's funny you talk about playoffs. For the large list of retirements that we've had, this has by no means been a bad race. It's literally just been people making mistakes or disconnecting. I think the one crash there was that beginning crash with Cantonen, wasn't there? But apart from that, it's been spectacular stuff throughout the field. Everyone being incredibly fair with, as I say, perhaps the exception of maybe Risto Capet straddling the line a bit too much in his defense of the lead, of which he might feel like he has to go a little bit over defensive as well. Lars Brugman is hounding him once again, almost pushing him out of turn 16. Not that that will help too much as we head down the home straight for the 37th time of asking. Better exit, we reckon. DRS will be in effect as Argenis Riera rejoins the race. So if he's quick about it, he might have a chance to score a point, although it's very unlikely at this stage. Lars Brugman unable to do anything into turn 1, though. Now we have the second straight as Argenis Riera leaves again, unfortunately. Brugman into the slipstream, DRS in effect. Not going to dive bomb, though. Risto Capet holds on for now.
Yep. And the guys behind have all kind of bunched up again. Plotzek ahead of Hoekstra, who's also ahead of Muscat. It's a full-on freeway scrap. With Paulini not too far away.
Yeah, definitely. De Vries on Francis. Look at this up the inside of turn 4. Contact between the two. Oh, and that was a bit 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. De Vries, I'd say Frančić may be the one who is a little bit naughty there. De Vries was fully up the inside, and then Frančić decided to hang on and go up the inside himself. What this has done either way is bring Junt into effect. As look at Brugman once again, almost pushing Capet around this stadium exit. Do you think he wants to get past Capet, Sam? I'm not too sure.
No, I think he just wants to kiss his gearbox. I think he just wants to give it a nice lick and a good kiss on the lips. But, well, whether he can do that or not, it's really going to depend on whether his tyres is going to hold up against Capet's tyres, who have certainly looked much better in this second run. As, oh, look at that, Hoekstra has gone up the inside of Plotzek into turn 1. Just got him up the inside, taking the position there. So once again, that position changes also. These guys are in very similar downforce, but it's just showing that they can't pull away from each other. Very similar on pace.
Look at Mlinik on Junt here as well. This is a battle for P9 and P10. And is Mlinik going to go around the outside of turn 1? Oh, he almost does contact between the two. Junt sticking it out though, and so all of a sudden this battle for P7 has really started to envelop the guys as, oh wow, how on earth? Firstly, how on earth did Mlinik save that? Secondly, how on earth did he go attack? Oh! No! Bit of contact there, I think, between Junt, almost taking out his teammate as well. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but either way, I think we're in the right position now to say that's how it should be. Wow, that was a scary moment. Satellites almost colliding there, and it wasn't out of space.
Yeah, certainly. It looked like there was going to be two huge shunts going on right there, but somehow everyone's managed to keep it clean and out the barriers and out of each other as well. But once again, round the final corner and across the start-finish line goes Capet, and he goes defensive early. He's just trying to break the toe here between himself and Brugman. It's certainly getting down to those nail-biting laps now, and I think Capet is starting to feel it. He knows he's just got to keep Brugman at about this half a second gap between the two to be able to hold him off, and certainly doing a very good job in this second stint. But whether he can keep it up the final couple of laps will remain to be seen. It could be a last lap pass that wins this one. It's that close. It's certainly one that we can't keep our eyes off right now.
Hoekstra holding on to P3 as well. He's still got Plotzek and Muscat for close company though. Paolini starting to close on in this battle as well in P6. Frančić still holding on from De Vries. P7 and 8. And Mlinik, of course, in all of that massive melee, did end up getting past Junt and is now nice and secure in P9. I guess the big battle now to watch out for. There's Junt versus Beresford as Junt gets a little bit crossed up under braking into P4. Just about holds on, however. Back up to the front. Capet versus Lars Brugman. Into turn 12 we go. Will Brugman fancy a cheeky look into the hairpin? No, he's not going to try it again. We're heading on to lap 40 of 41, however. Penultimate lap of this race. Time is running out for Lars to win this race, however. it looks like the championship is well and truly in his grasp now.
Yeah, it certainly does. But whether he can also grasp this win will remain to be seen, because he's close at this time to cap it by about a tenth of a second as they cross the line, but again just hasn't got that extra bit of oomph to challenge him going into turn 1. And looking further back, it seems to be the same story between Francic and De Vries as well. De Vries just not close enough as they go across the line. So I think Capit's actually closer. I'm sorry, Brugman's closer to Capit right now. Going up to turn 4. He's going to have a look up the inside. This is his best opportunity, and he's got him.
That is the definition of a late braking manoeuvre. He has gotten it stopped in time, kept it within track limits, and he has only got 1.5 laps here to win this race. He's now in his best sector as well. Arguably the best time when Capit's tyres will be at their worst in this race, with the exception, of course, the last lap. Brugman trying his best to run away as fast as possible. Will it be enough, though? 8/10 as we hit the Sector 2 split. He's got to have an almighty stadium section to be able to fend off Capit, though. Capit himself he's found a lot of joy in this sector, it seems, when he is behind. And, you know, I think he still might not be far away enough, Brugman. Final lap of this race, 9/10 between the two. We've seen Capit close this gap before. He's going to have the DRS as well. It's too long a straight. Brugman trying his best. He still can't run away. Capit closing him down. It is actually going to be very close going into turn 1, though. And Brugman is going to stay ahead. So is the tyre wear the big factor in this race? Has it been able to save Brugman's win?
It certainly looks that way, because Capit has just not had the answer for Brugman, and he can't late brake enough into turn 4. This is where Brugman got Capit last time around. It's really Capit's last real hope of getting past Brugman, and it hasn't happened. So Brugman's effectively won this race on the final lap. I know he's still got half a lap left to do, but he's done all the hard work now. He just needs to keep it composed and keep it just on the right line through these final couple of corners, something that Capit is really struggling with right now.
Late manoeuvre as well. Beresford had got past David Yunt, but Yunt has retaken that position into turn 4. And who's that spun? It's Mark Fuller. No need to worry about that. But coming round turn 12 now, Lars Brugman. He's been so patient all race. He's had to deal with a completely unique situation in just hanging behind someone with a lower downforce setting. He's persevered. He's gotten the job done, and he's going to win the championship in style. Lars Brugman is our 2016 Super Cup Drivers' Champion. He wins here in Mexico, race 1. Risto Capit, what a dogged effort and a unique strategy to try and take the win. He takes P2, Hoach to P3, Muscat P4, Polotzek P5. Excellent racing from those three. Paulini 6th, De Vries 7th, Francic 8th, Mlinick 9th. Yunt just holds on to P10 from Beresford. Both of them having great races from the back. Ruiz looks to have run out of fuel. Can Kumar get him? Kumar's going to nick P12 here. Oh no, Kumar takes P12. Surely Shepard's going to... Oh, it's close. It's going to be a run to the line. Can Ruiz take P13 ahead of Shepard? This is going to be so close. Look at this. Oh no. No. Oh, Ruiz. Oh my goodness, he's going to take it just about. Oh, Ruiz. Oh, 4/10 in it. Oh my word, Ruiz with the luckiest P13 he'll ever secure in his life. Chris Shepard milliseconds away from taking P13 there. He finishes P14, taking points on his Super Cup debut, of course. Mark Fuller, for the third time this year, takes the final point of the race. Largely, however, you could argue because of the large list of retirements we had from this race. Riera, Clont, Jordan, Brackham, Higgins, Wilson, Milan, Parkin, and Cantonen all retiring throughout. But Lars Brugman, deserving champion.
Yep, absolutely fantastic. Finally, we can say Lars Brugman has won the Super Cup. this year for 2016. It's something that's really been on the cards for such a long time now. Everyone knew that he was surely going to do it. He's been so imperious for this entire season, and finally we can cement it. We can write it down. We can put it into the record books. Lars Brugman has done it. He's won the championship in Supercup this year. He has really been the guy to beat throughout the whole season. I know he's gone on a bit of a barren run recently, not winning in the last 5 races before this race, but he's come back today and he's won it. And well, he could have retired from this race and still won the championship, but he's done it in style. He's taken the win, and he's fully deserving of this championship. I know we've still got 3 races left, but really for Lars Brugman right now and for Team Proline, that doesn't matter at all. He's taken the championship. Just the way he's done all season, just calm, collected, and just come around and taken this win here today with a very measured drive, and not got flustered at times when he really could have just kind of lost it, having to be so patient with a car that was so much quicker in a straight line than his own. And well, that's just really a fine example of Lars Brugman's driving. If anyone ever came into GPVWC and they would need to be taught on how to drive a race, then I think this is certainly one of the ones to look at, it how to just be measured, be calm, use strategy to your advantage, and even when it looks like you might not be able to win, there's still a way, and it's a clean way of doing it as well. And Brugman's just, I can't give him enough superlatives for what he's done this season. It's been an absolutely fantastic season for him. So many wins. He's nearly got a 50% record in terms of wins to race starts, and well, it's a surprise that it's taken this many rounds for him to win the championship. He's looked that dominant at times.
I'd like to give a fair shout out as well to Tobias Polotzik as well, though. P5, considering the start to his Super Cup career that he had, I think it was like 6 or 7 retirements on the bounce. It was ridiculous. And to score a P5 now, it just shows that if you put enough hard work into it, and if you have the potential to do well in single-seaters, you can work your way up and get some really nifty results. And fair play to him. A top 5 is a shining light in which, of course, Dennis Jordan retired from that race as well. So the lone Evolution scorer, Junt and Beresford as well, coming from the back to score some good points themselves. In Junt's case in particular, putting him in with a chance of reverse grid pole position, of which those drivers are Paolini, Francic, De Vries, Mlinick, and David Junt as well. I'm sure there's one which I've missed. Because 6, 7, 8, 9. No, that's it. So Paolini, Francic, De Vries, Mlinick, and Junt. Fascinating load of drivers there. Most interesting would be Francic, however, because we remember how good that start was from Risto Capit in race 1. If Francic can get himself in a similar position, then you think that the podium is very much on for him. However, we do have to wait for that reverse grid call. And for the likes of Mlinick and Junt, who aren't really up there that often these days. In the case of Junt, hasn't driven Super Cup full time in a while. Mlinick, reserve driver at TG at the end of the year here. Excitement for all. Or, of course, we could have a call back to the early days and have P7 called anyway. Paolini bridesmaid once again. We'll have to wait and see.
That certainly could be the case. And just going back to your earlier point as well, James, about Tobias Polotzik, I'd just like to also say what a good job he has done recently, and also some credit should go to Evolution as well, because for a good half of the season's worth of driving, Polotzik didn't really do anything that really merited a drive in terms of results, and often his performance on track, and Evolution could have easily dropped him and switched him out for another driver, but they stuck with him, and now they're seeing the dividends of it. They're reaping the rewards, and so is Polotzik as well. And I think it's a really good kind of team and driver coming together here, and I just hope that it continues on for next season. I'd like to see Polotzik back in Super Cup again next year, and I think he could certainly be a solid top 5 driver at least next year, and with the rates he's improved, you never know, he could be a race winner and even a championship contender.
That's a big call. Top 5. We don't even know who's going to be taking part next year, Sam.
No, I know. Of course, we don't. We
Oh.
don't know if the team will be there. We don't know if the driver will be there.
And unfortunately for Francic, luck has finally gone Paolini's way. He takes reverse grid pole position with the minimum number P6 called. So I think Risto Cap is going to be rubbing his hands together because he started in a similar position and was leading by turn 1.
And of course, Francic will be right behind Capit on the grid, sat directly behind him.
Yeah.
And of course, Francic could also do something very similar and follow his teammate through. And you never know, we could see the both of them in first and second by the time we get to turn 1.
Chris Shepard saying, I'm amazed at how different a fast qualifying set can be compared to the same set with fuel. And honestly, I think that is a big step up. I mean, considering he's only really done tin tops in GPVWC before jumping into single seaters, it is a really good sign of, if you're coming into the career ladder, you've got to be prepared to put in the work. And it doesn't matter whether it's up at, with us here in Supercup, whether it's up with Super League, we've got upgrades to worry about, or even whether it's down in Formula Challenger Open Series. If you want to find success, you need to put in the hours of initial work into a setup, and then however long you can afford in a week to fine-tune that setup for every race week that you come into, because every track's different. Every track has its quirks, and in Supercup, I forget this year, of course, you have to worry about the downforce packages as well. It's difficult, the career ladder, and I think people sometimes don't give it its due credit. They look at these crashes, or they look at these mistakes from drivers, and they say, oh, how could he be doing that? It's such an easy corner to take, but perhaps worth trying it yourself. I mean, you still drive the cars this year with Arrow in Formula Challenge, and I'm sure you'll be able to attest to how difficult it can be if you take your eye off the ball even for 1 second.
Yeah, I do just about drive when I am actually able to be here. Unfortunately,
I know we're stretching the boat out here, Sam. But,
yeah, and drive maybe in commas as well, certainly. But yeah, I still get out there on track. It is a case of, you can't really just come along, waltz around, and turn up without any practice in any of these series in the career ladder, even open series, and be competitive, because you've just got to put the practice in, and practice makes perfect. It's very simple. It's just learn the car, learn the track, and understand the setup, and you become the driver that you need to be, and the driver that teams will be attracted to as well. And well, we've certainly seen that this year in all the categories. There's just been a couple of drivers that are just a bit ahead of those around them. In Formula Challenge, it's very much James Johnson and Stefan Rualt who have been the two shining examples in that series. They've just been a step ahead of everyone else, and I think that's just come about again from a lot of practice. You'll see them on the server quite often, but of course they've had their own mistakes as well. Considering how good they are, they've still had their mistakes. They've still got caught up, and sometimes it's just from having cars around you, and that's what makes these reverse grid races sometimes very cruel and unfair, but entertaining for us nonetheless.
I think Stefan and James, both drivers, we're looking forward to seeing in Supercup next year. We hope, at least, anyway. Okay, so we have about 20 seconds left of warm-up before we head into race 2, which, if you are, of course, just joining here for the first time, is a sprint race as opposed to our feature race 1. 24 laps as opposed to the 41 that we saw in that first race. Reverse grid, Paolini on pole. But do we think that Risto Capit is going to be up there challenging again? Because that we've got to mention that start once again from P6 to P1. He's got every opportunity, and Lars Brugman isn't starting on the front row this time either.
No, certainly not. It's going to be more difficult for Brugman to come through at the start. It really is going to be a case of, if, say, Capit and Francic, can they get through? It will depend on whether they get blocked up or not effectively by the gaggle of cars that are going to be ahead of them. And that's really what's going to be interesting. Of course, they're going to have to get a good start as well. But as we've seen for most of the time this year, I don't think the starts have been too difficult, I felt, compared to recent years. Either that or the drivers have improved their starts, because most people get about the same kind of start in a ways. Who was it like? There was someone last year, wasn't there, that always had a bad start at the start of a race. I've forgotten who it was, but it felt much more difficult in R Factor 1 compared to R Factor 2.
I know what you mean.
I think it's going to be a case of if one of those two cars can get out ahead and try and pull away, they might be able to win. But again, they're going to have to look after their tyres over a slightly extended period. 24 laps is much longer than the 21 or 20 that they did in the first race.
For sure. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who the slow starter was. I'm never going to remember it though. It's weird to think. I've been commentating at this league for almost 4 years, and so all that information which you take in is just sort of being compiled into one massive mess, and you can't make sense of it anymore. Let's make sense of this second race, however. Both championships are decided, but it doesn't mean that we can't have a bit of fun in these last 3 races of the year. Stick with us. Dino Paolini then starts on pole position. He took his first win of the year last time out in Austin. Is there the potential to take his second the round after? Tobias Polotczek, excellent evening so far, starting on the front row in P2. Jason Muscat, P3. Wilkie Hoekstra, P4. Risto Capit starting P5 with Lars Brugman, P6. De Vries finished ahead of Francis. My apologies. So De Vries starts P7 with Francis, P8. Massimo Linick will start P9. And rounding out the top 10 will be David Junt. Scott Beresford will start P11 with Naranjan Kumar, P12. Edgar Ruiz, P13 with Chris Shepherd, P14. Mark Fuller will be P15 with Argenis Riera, P16. Meno Klont, P17. Dennis Jordan, P18. Thomas Hinz, P19. And Borja Milan rounds out the grid in P20, meaning that we have lost 4 drivers in between sessions. So those internet problems must have been pretty severe for a lot of guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Canton was one.
Canton was one.
It was another
both
one of
Kayalas.
Both Kayalas. That seems to be a reoccurring kind of thing this season with Kayalas not appearing for race 2, which is unfortunate. And there's someone else as well. But of course, that's 24 out of the 24 cars that are still competing in this championship. We've lost a couple of teams over the last few rounds, which is also disappointing to see. Yes, Bracken. But at least guys are still turning up for the most part, and that's what we like to see. And I'm going to say one name to you, James, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, and that name is Emmanuel Gakshela.
Oh, yes, it was. You're absolutely right. Well remembered. Well remembered, sir. That's why you're in the commentary box.
Yeah, that and the payments have been made.
Shh. There's happy times here at Supercup. No, but seriously, I'll get to you. Don't worry. Okay, drivers are on the grid. GG, everyone. Oh, sorry, Glar. Have fun. Stay safe. We go again with 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights here for the second time in Mexico City. We're racing, and it's a decent start from the front lot, but Capit there has had another decent start up to P4 already. Now he's got the long straight down to turn 1, to try and make the most of it. He's passed Muscat. He's passed Polotczek. Is he going to go past all of them? He has gone past all of them once again. Risto Capit takes the lead for the second time in an evening. Paolini holds on to second, Polotczek third, Muscat fourth, and it seems that everyone else has pretty much gone status quo. David Franchich has made up a place on Brugman actually, so he's up to P6. Apparently there was a little bit of contact in behind. I don't think it was major though. Everyone's seeming to be going around nicely, so no major incident like last time. What a start from Risto Capit again though, and more importantly, he's in that good position as Meno Klont seems to be tumbling down the order. He's in P13. Sven de Vries has just gotten past Lars Brugman, I noticed actually as well, so Brugman falling down the order even further. Not that he cares, he's the champion, so it's all for pride and all, I would guess, for seats next year potentially, as a couple of people running off the road there at the exit of the midsection, heading into the stadium section for the first time of asking. Everyone playing very nice, to be fair, as that was, I think, one of the racing teams. Schroten's getting a little bit leery. Yeah, it was Kumar battling away with Milan and Shepherd. But at the end of lap 1, as it was in race 1, it's Capit who leads. but this time from Paulini, Muscat, Hoekstra, Polotczek, Francis de Vries, Brugman, Linnick, and Junt.
Yep, a good start all around, and it felt like deja vu there because Risto Capit took the lead as he did before he even got to turn 1. It was that quick. Francic, on the other hand, wasn't able to do that, and he's making his way through the field now. He's side by side with Polotczek going into turn 1 on lap 2. And they're still side by side. There's a bit of contact between the two, and Francis has really got loose there, and that's caused Sven de Vries to get caught up as well. And here comes Lars Brugman. He's going to try and go around the outside of Francis. They're 2 by 2 going up to turn 4. Who's going to bail out of it? And Francis has gone so deep, and that's de Vries around again. And he's off the track onto the grass and comes back on, but he's lost all those positions, and it's really a danger to get here today for de Vries.
He's getting mucked. He does. Almost gets hit up the rear by Shepherd as well, bringing over his touring car manoeuvres. They don't work here, Chris, unfortunately. But dearie me, he does not like that sector, Sven de Vries, whatsoever. Thankfully for him, still in the points, but really stuck in the doghouse now with all of those guys scrapping away for whatever points they can get. Back up to P7. David Francic holding on for dear life. Masai Mlinik all over the back of him as is that Beresford just about holding off Ruiz, I think. A little bit of contact between the two. David Junt just holding off Menno Klont as well. He's doing a good start to this race. Menno Klont was outside the top 15 up to P10 already, so he's had a very nice opening foray here at Mexico. And just looking down the order, seems like everyone's close, Sam, but there's no obvious moves, at least to me at the moment. Worth noting, however, Paulini very much taking up the Brugman role so far. Within a second of Capit, not really anywhere near overtaking him, though.
Yeah, I can see that certainly closing up as Kumar has just got a loose trying to pass Reeve going into turn 1. That's Shepherd round as well, so Shepherd just maybe distracted there by Kumar rejoining the track, and he's lost all his positions down in last, but he can't get any worse from there, so he can at least try and make it up. But you're absolutely right, Paulini is trying to do what Brugman did, and I think it will begin to close up after a couple of laps once everyone's got the tyres up to temperature. I think Paulini and Muscat can certainly try and reel in Capit here, and maybe bring along a couple of the guys behind them as well. It does feel like it's pretty much the same guys featuring in race 2 as they did in race 1, at least for the top 6 anyway.
Personally, I'd say that was actually a poor rejoin from Kumar. I'm not really sure what more Shepherd could do. He's back on the road, still going, thankfully, down in P20. But, I tend to agree with you up the front. It seems to be very much status quo in the context of race 1. Nobody really having a good go at Capit, but maybe they will reel him in. Capit had opened up the gap to 1.1 by Sector 2. By the end of Sector 2, it was down to under a second again. So Paulini keeping it relatively close, as it looks like Hoek's just having a little eye out on Jason Muscat. Battle for the podium going on between those two once again. Polotczek definitely not as involved in that battle as he was last time in P5. Lars Brugman not able to make much movement into that top 5 either. In P6s, that's Masai Mlinik getting the exit of turn 3 horribly wrong, and that could allow David Junt in with a chance. Now the lead satellite driver in this race, not able to do anything into turn 4, as behind Menno Klont, Beresford and Ruiz having a nice battle, and Boya Milan and Sven de Vries going into battle as well. Spaniard versus the American, and the American wins out at least for now. Sven de Vries back through into P13. Borja Milan relegated down to P14. Definitely a nice little scrap going on in the midfield, though, whilst the top of the field decides to play it safe for the moment.
Yep, it's certainly looking just a little bit calm at the moment, but of course race 2 usually brings up a lot of action. It looks like Malinik is really having to actually Francis ahead of him as well, really having to just hold on right now. There's a whole train of cars with Junt Klont, who's having a much better race this time, that he hasn't been clobbered up the rear at the start. Beresford and Ruiz all there as well, so I think that's one also to look out for, which of course will be more interesting now because the drivers will have DRS as well. So they'll be able to take advantage of that and close up along this long pit straight.
Yeah, Junt is definitely closing here. Will he have a little look to dive out, I wonder? No, and what about Ruiz on Beresford behind? He has a little look. Same case, though, not going to overtake there. Nice little battles going on there. De Vries and Borja Milan still close, and Narenyu Kumar's leading a battle of his own holding off practically every other driver left in the field for that final point position. Thankfully, his teammate's actually the one behind him, so Racing Team Stroke not looking too bad as Dennis Jordan looking to go around the outside of Thomas Hinz for P17, and that's a nice move there from the German, and the Aussie giving him lots of respect as well. So Dennis Jordan back through to P17, looking to score at least a point for his team after disconnecting in race 1, as Dino Paolini now under a lot of pressure from Jason Muscat, and this will be great for Malta Force in the team championship if he does so. Brakes very late, gets it stopped in time as well though, so a lovely little move there from Jason Muscat. If he stays within DRS range of Risto Capit, which I believe he does, then things could be looking very tasty, as now more pressure on Paolini from his own teammate Rocky Hoekstra.
Yeah, it's certainly looking like Paolini hasn't quite had the pace here today. He was okay in race 1, but just not on the pace of the leads. I think that's kind of reflecting here once again in race 2, because Hoekstra is pulling out now, and he's going to try and go up the inside of Paolini on this long drag down into turn 1. And they're still side by side, so they're racing each other fairly and squarely. But Hoekstra just manages to get that position, so he moves up into 3rd as well, and he'll go and try and chase after Muscat, who's also closing the gap on Capit. It's under a second, so he'll be getting DRS now.
Further back, looks like Lars Brugman's finally had enough of seeing Tobias Polotzek in front of him. Goes around the outside of the German, and once again gets it done. That turn 4 is proving very nice indeed for some lovely overtakes from a lot of drivers, and Lars Brugman finally stepping up into the top 5 after a long wait. David Franchich still holding on there in P7, but I do think that this Mlinic train is starting to catch up to Franchich as all. David Jones getting a little bit squirrely there through turn 7. He could find himself under a bit of pressure later in the race, and in fact he does, David Franchich. Look at this, Mlinic already onto the back of the Croatian, and are those tyres starting to go already, I wonder? It'd be mightily early if they are.
Yeah, Franchich just looks like he hasn't had the same paces as his teammate all day here today. And much like race 1, he's in 7th position once again. But much like race 1 as well, he defended that 7th position for much of the race, only to lose it in the final couple of corners. It was a bit frantic and a bit messy, but he kind of lost it right at the end. So he's certainly looking like where he should be in terms of pace in the field right now, but he's got to do a lot of defending, I feel, for the rest of this race if he wants to try and hold on to that. And already he's having to go slightly defensive into turn 1, and it just keeps out of it. As Scott Beresford nearly goes into the back of Menno Clont as well. It's all very tight there with Edgar Reeve right behind him as well. It's all Beresford. I think he actually clipped the outside wall coming out of turn 3. He went that wide.
Lucky boy, he could allow Ruiz in here as well. Brakes later, fends nicely. Menno Clont clouting the inside curve as well. Some really nice scrapping going on here in the midfield. P7 down to P12. They're covered by 2 seconds, so that would be the reason why, as we head into Sector 2, David Franchich, he becomes the bottle cork once again.
He certainly does, but he looks pretty easy down the straights. He's certainly not having to worry too much when he gets his car pointing in a straight line and not having to twist the wheel at any point. And wow, look at the leaders as well. Capit all of a sudden has got Muscat all over the back of him, and Hoekstra's come along and joined the party as well. So unbelievably, Capit once again is having to think about defending for at least a few laps, just like he has done in the previous race as well for the majority of that. And it just shows he's losing so much time through those tight twisty corners, and he's going to have to try and hold on and just keep the gap ahead down the straight.
Oh, as there is a lot of battling going down here in the midfield once again. Is Beresford going to try and take 2 cars in one corner? Oh, a bit of locking wheels there with Menno Clont, who'd gotten past David Junt the corner before. Oh, and Scott Beresford forced onto the curbing there, and he loses out massively. Edgar Ruiz now, it was all counteracted there by David Junt having a torrid section there. So Clont up to 9. And Junt goes wide again. And Junt just about holding on there as Mlinic is past Franchich. And apparently there might have been a bit of contact there as well, but Mlinic is past Franchich into P7. He can now start to fly free. Good little move from Clont up the inside there, and I think Scott Beresford was just a little bit too optimistic in trying to go up the inside of Clont as well, so he's now down to P12 with Ruiz up to P11.
Oh, Franchich Francis
Francis
just
is
gone
off,
off
yeah.
and got back onto the track, but Clont is all over the back of him now. So going into the stadium section, he's having to take a slightly defensive line just to cover off Clont there. But really lit up the tyres, and that certainly won't have done those any good either.
Oh.
Considering he's still got many laps left to do on them, a good 2/3 of the race, he's going to have to worry.
And look at Muscat here on Risto Capit. Unbelievably, Muscat's putting the Estonian under a lot of pressure here, and that's with DRS as well. Despite the lower downforce package, will Muscat have a little go? He had a little look, but under braking, not able to do anything. Really giving Capit something to think about, however, and pardon me, the two Mazuriks adding a bit of extra spice to that mix as well. I don't think Paolini is looking to attack his teammate Hosha, because they are closing at a very nice rate, and in fact they are pretty much with the lead battle now, and Brugman's dragging along Polotzek as well. Could have a six-way battle for the lead if we're lucky.
We certainly could do. I think Brugman's certainly going to catch up with these guys ahead after his pace that he showed in race 1, and Capit is really having to think about the guys behind him, much as Francic is as well. And I think Capit's actually going to come into increasing pressure here, going towards turn 12. Muscat's going to look up the inside. He's thinking about it. He's broken. Capit's actually left in the room. And there you go. Muscat's through, but can he hold on to it?
Yeah, well, I think Capit was like, why are you going up the inside? I'm just going to re-overtake you now. Because that's the DRS activation, or the DRS reading zone there before we exit the stadium. So he's going to have DRS Capit, which will instantly give him a lovely defense against Hosha behind him. But it's now going to give him an attacking option against Muscat as well. I mean, I don't see much point in that move from from Jason Muscat, because it's just giving Capit a bit of an extra boost there.
Yeah, if I was Capit, I'd probably just give the position up at the end of every lap, just so I can get a nice free boost down the main straight. It seems to work out, doesn't it?
Don't understand it myself. Either way, Capit's back through into the lead. Lap 10 of 24. And look at Hoekstra now. He sniffs the second place. And if he plays his cards right, I think he can get it as well. As can Paolini, the two of them working well together. We've seen a number of teams throughout this season. Whenever they run in tandem with each other, they seem to do a lot better than if they're separated out over the field. So Mazurik, who've really taken up a really nice run of form in the second half of this season, looking to eye up a potential double podium here. Certainly within their potential, that's for sure. As the battle further down the field, I think, has in the midfield, I should say, has really started to spread out. There's not really that many people attacking each other. Although that said, literally just as I say, it looks like Scott Beresford's on the inside of Ruiz. Brakes very late. Brakes too late. And Ruiz will retake that position. Thank you very much. So there is still battling going down in the midfield. Never mind me. I'm blowing hot steam over here. All 20 runners and riders still in this race, though. Good to see that.
Yeah, certainly. It's been much better for attrition than it has in the first race. And Muscat right now is having to look in his mirrors, because Hoekstra just pulled out a little bit there going into turn 1. Thought about a move, but it wasn't quite close enough to pull it off. But further down, there certainly is some scrapping. I can see that Scott Beresford and Sven de Vries are side by side, and de Vries takes 12th position going into turn 1, so he's on his recovery drive after that spin very early on in the race, and he's got a good few cars ahead of him that he can certainly attempt to overtake in the second half of this race.
Certainly Milan 14th as well, still in that battle, I should say. And Dennis Jordan has made his way into the point. He's passed both Racing Team Schroten cars now, the German, although his pace early on in this race doesn't exactly suggest that he's going to move up any further. 5 seconds adrift from the rest of the field. So there is still a possibility of more points. As I say, you never know what can happen, but if things remain as they are, I don't think Jordan will be looking too much higher today in what has been a freakishly bad round for him, unfortunately. Back up to the front, however. And now the 5-car train for the lead. I guess 6 now with Polotzek there as well. Risto Capit struggling once again. 3/10 between himself and Jason Muscat, who probably won't be able to overtake, as we've seen from many drivers. There's only been one overtake on the medium downforce package on this straight, and that was from Brugman on Capit in race 1. Muscat's got to be careful, though, because here comes Whoopke Hoekstra as well with DRS of his own. Nothing doing into turn one, although look how well Jason Muscat has taken turn one there, and conversely how badly Capit has taken turn one. Muscat needs to capitalise on those sorts of mistakes if he's to have any sort of hope of taking home the race win himself.
That was incredible closing by Muscat in the braking zone there. I actually thought the car was going to swap around on him. He seemed to go in so hot, but held the car well into the apex of the corner and it really gained the advantage. And look at this now, it is truly a 6-car train for the lead. All these guys are nose to tail, and Capit is just having to string them along and try and just keep some composure really through all these corners right now, because Muscat is right behind him, and this time he's going to have another look into the stadium section, but thinks better of it. Maybe he just remembered that it was pretty fruitless last time he passed Capit there, and we'll have to look for somewhere else on the track if he wants to get the job done today.
This must be so frustrating for the guy. It's like waiting for a bus, isn't it? And it's never coming along.
I suppose so, yeah. You might just have to get up and do it yourself and go for a walk. Yeah. Because it's certainly not gonna happen in terms of a mistake. Well, it could happen in terms of a mistake, but the way these drivers have been driving today, it doesn't look like that would happen. And certainly with Capit, for the most part, he hasn't really made any mistakes.
I'm interested to see always. We do have movement further down, and that is David Junt retaking P9, I believe. Into turn one. All contact between the two, and Clont goes off the road, and that is an awful rejoin from Menno Clont. I don't want to criticise drivers. I honestly don't, but when you're off the road, it doesn't matter how you've been put off the road. I think it was a little bit naughty there from David Junt. There was a bit of contact, but he's just taken out Edgar Ruiz there, completely out of the points. Real shame.
Yeah, Menno Clont there, just he did get hit off the road, to be fair to him, if that's the only defence I could give him, that he was pushed off the road, and he came back on and tried to straddle the curb, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work at all, and it just, a huge crash and a huge stack up there going into the stadium section between the top 6. They were nearly hitting each other. It was that close between the 6 of them, and it really is showing that Cap is so slow through the corners, and everyone is just having to wait patiently behind because there's nowhere else to go really. And then he launched down this straight here, and Muscat is actually having to look in his mirrors more than anything, because Hoekstra might have a look at the inside. Now he thinks better of it and stays behind him for another lap at least.
Yeah, he's going to need a little patience, as the wonderful hit song from the early 2000s describes all 5 of those drivers. They're racing drivers, though. They have none of that. They want to get past. They want more points. There's a podium. There's a win up for grabs there. And I'm sure all of them will be thinking, the only reason that this guy's ahead now is because of the package he's running. And they'd be absolutely right. He has an instant advantage on defence down both of those straights. And through this Sector 2, to be fair to Capit, he has not made a major mistake once. If he did make that mistake, the guys would be in. That's it. I think Jason Muscat just needs to do a little bit more, doesn't he? He needs to do what Lars Brokman did in Race 1 and overtake him before Sector 2. Make the most of that Sector 2 then, and try and pull away as fast as he can, because if things keep going as they are, Risto Capit's going to be tootling on home to the finish without much of a care in the world to just defending people.
Yeah, Capit has struggled out this final sector once again, and Muscat's actually pretty close to him, but he just can't seem to get close enough. He's got the DRS, and he's holding his own against Capit, and maybe starting to just pull in by a couple of thousandths of a second, you'd say, but just not enough. And this is key though. This is the point where Muscat needs to stay right on Capit's tail here, and he really just needs to go around the outside of Capit, I feel, going into turn 4, and then just take him into turn 5. But again, he's not close enough, and he's actually put himself under a bit of peril there, because he outbraked himself and went a bit too deep into the corner and nearly gave up a position to Hoekstra behind.
Further down the order, Sven de Vries has made his way past his teammate now as well, so de Vries up into P9. down into P10. Beresford, of course, was one of the benefiters from that Menocont rejoin. He's up into P11, as is Milan. Benefit, he's up to P12. Jordan as well, up to P13. So we were talking about whether he needed something wrong or not to go higher up in the race. And higher up he has gone. Menocont P14, of course. Debatable whether he's going to finish there, of course, with Argenis Riera quite close behind in P15 and Ruiz, of course. So unlucky to be down in P16, caught up in that accident. But back up to the leaders. I don't think you'll see any other race this season where the top 6 are within 2 seconds of each other. But such is the strategic call. We're on to lap 16 of 24 now. 60% of this race complete. And there just seems to be no way past. Jason Muscat doesn't want to give anybody else a chance. Oh, further back there might be an overtake though. Here comes Lars Brugman on. Paolini not able to make it stick, however. At least there's someone in this top 6 trying to do something.
Yeah, that was actually really good braking by Paolini too. I didn't actually think he'd be able to hold on to that position, but he just outbroke Brugman. And now Brugman's actually under pressure himself from Polotzek into turn 4. But Brugman himself brakes very late there and holds onto the position for another couple of corners and actually thinks about going after Paolini. But all the guys are going to have to be patient once again. As,
Sorry, P8 and P9. Look at this. It's Frančić versus De Vries, round 2, or whatever 2 is in Mexican. I wish I knew. Dos. There we go. I should learn Spanish. I did 1 year of Spanish. Give me a break. But yeah, Frančić really seems to be struggling now. Both satellites all over the back of him and seemingly looking to take the corner or looking to take the positions at any moment's notice. Oh, sorry. Look at Brugman. Wow, what a move this would be. He tried to go around the outside of turn 13. I don't know why he thought that would work. It didn't. And so Paolini stays at P4, but he's getting inventive, Brugman.
He's certainly getting closer to Paolini. I actually think he might be able to attack him this time as well. Muscat might be able to attack Capit. He's fairly close to him going into turn 1. It's still got a ways to go down the straight. He's actually not going to make it, but Brugman's going to have a look up the inside of Paolini once again. And Paolini can't brake late this time around. Brugman goes around the outside of turn 2 and gets the job done. That's a great move by Brugman. Just set up Paolini through the first corner and got him into the second. Really good effort.
And is this Polotzek looking to attack as well, I wonder? Going into turn 4, Brugman defends his position, and I think, yeah, Polotzek, again, having a great race, it must be said. Just saying, I'll take the points, thank you very much. Although getting a bit close to Paolini's gearbox, I'm sure, for the comfort of the German. As further down the order, there seems to be a bit of switching of position, and indeed it is. Riera, a bit of contact with Ruiz there. And Edgar Ruiz back into the point in P15. But it seems like there's a real divide now between the top 3 and 4th down to 6th. The top 3 within 5/10 of each other. And Lars Brugman in overtaking Paolini, causing a bit of a divide there between the two, although he's quickly catching up to these guys again. Such is the slow pace of Capin. Again, it's so weird to say the slow pace of Capin, but it's absolutely true. The only reason he's not been overtaken is because of this straight line speed.
Yeah, that's simply the reason why. It's the case for both the Street Fighter cars, isn't it? Their straight line speed is just helping them keep ahead of whoever is behind, and as long as they can keep the cornering speed up to a level, then there's no way of getting around them. But that's the key thing, is the cornering speed. And will that drop as the race winds down into its final few laps and the tyres go off more and more? No driver here, apart from maybe Mlinik, will have gone as far as 24 laps in race 1. So it's going to be interesting to see what these drivers end up with with their own cars when we get around to those final couple of laps.
Lap 18 of 24, by the way. So time is running out for these guys, as you've noticed something potentially. Oh, yes, it is. There's David Junt and Borja Milan. Borja Milan, who's gotten past Scott Beresford, who's a little way behind. I wonder whether he's gone off the road again, Scott. Milan, though, looking at a top 10. And he started outside the points.
He nearly got there as well, but he was actually run off a little bit by Junt, who went off the road, came back on and nearly wiped him out. So lucky escape.
As look at this. De Vries further up the road on David Frančić, unable to do anything into the stadium section once again. Why would he, to be honest? He'd be re-overtaken by David Frančić very quickly down that main straight. But once again, the midfield starting to spice up a bit. And I noticed that the balance has been redressed between Ruiz and Klont. So Ruiz into 14th, now ahead of Menno Klont in 15th. Once again, debatable if he's going to score points, especially with Riera so far behind. Back up to the front. Nobody overtaking each other once again. And I'm starting to worry for Polotzek as well. He's fallen off the top 5 quite dramatically in the past couple of laps. And Masai Mlinik, who's having a mightily fine evening here today with TG Racing, starting to closing on the German as well. So I won't make any World War II references, but there could be a battle between the two.
Yeah, I don't think I will either, but that's certainly, well, I've kind of lost for words right there, but Malinik's,
That's fine.
He's looked incredible, Malinik, today, just improved as the day has gone on, and he's very much, hasn't got much experience in Supercup, but he's showing very wise head right here, as De Vries has got past Frančić, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
De Vries has got past Frančić, and that looked interesting. Where did he do that?
I can tell you where, actually.
Wow.
Frančić went, wow, that's a move and a half. Hopefully you can get that,
Definitely.
Ben. It was
On it.
through turn 7, he was fine. He went up the inside of turn 8 and around the outside of turn 9. What a unique move that was. Whether he stays in that position is another matter, because he's still within DRS range of De Vries' Frančić, but wow. That's a move and a half if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I was pretty much taken aback by that. That was incredible by De Vries. Very opportunistic, but look at that. He's coming to defend from Frančić.
Oh, he's going to defend.
Frančić around the outside. Oh, there's contact between the two, and Frančić has gone off the road. Whoa, there's more contact behind, and Frančić has lost another position to a Yunt.
Absolutely mugged. And I'm not sure who to lay blame on with that one. I think it was very much 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, wasn't it? There was a little bit of naughtiness from both corners. Thankfully, all of them are still on the road as Menno Klont becomes our first retirement of the race on lap 20 of 24. He's thrown in the towel for whatever reason. It might be a disconnect, actually, by the looks of it. But that means that Argenis Riera, therefore, gets promoted into P15, so looking to score a point for Racing Team Stroton here tonight. Fascinating, though. And now it looks like Frančić is under pressure from Scott Beresford as well, so really not going well for the Croatian, is it? For his teammate, on the other hand, despite being under pressure for every single lap of this race so far, still leading, but this time finding the need to go defensive. Is his luck beginning to run out?
Yeah, but at the same time, Muscat's having to look in his mirrors as well, because Hoster is all over the back of him, and surely he's going to have a look at the inside.
No.
Is he? No. Once again, he just kind of moves back into a position behind Muscat, but I'm sure he could have at least stuck one up the inside there and had a go for second place.
Why risk the points? One would argue. Again,
maybe
end
go
of
for
the
a win.
season, but here goes Brugman as well, his compatriot now, right with him. Seems like they've dropped Paolini ever so slightly this top 4, although he does remain there in watching brief, and it seems like Polotzek is staying ahead of Mlinik well enough. This is really the closest battle on track. I've had a little flick through. It really is, with the exception of stuff outside of the points. Risto Capit down to Lars Brugman is the battle to watch. The big question that has yet to be answered: will Capit make a mistake? Because it seems like that is the only way that anyone other than him is going to win this race.
Yeah, maybe he's just kind of learnt everything that he took from the first race. But of course, it took until the penultimate lap of the race for Capit to lose his lead for the final time. And, well, it could always happen once again. These guys are so close together. Effectively, the top 5 could still win the race here. It's that close between all of them. And again, Capit goes to the inside, touches the pit wall, basically slaps his team as he goes past, and then maybe gives them a high five, who knows. And then he goes down the straight, and look at that. No one's close enough to the guy ahead to make a move, and that's really what we've seen all race. It's like F1 back in the mid-2000s with your truly trains and everything like that. It's just no one could quite get there and just get enough along in the inside of someone to make a move.
Was it really better back then, guys? I mean, I guess we can always go to World Endurance Championship. Oh wait, they've just lost a team this year. Never mind. Shots fired. Sorry, I'm going to be treading on a few toes there. I know. Sorry, but yeah, I agree with you entirely. It is a truly train incarnate, and I don't want to say a Capit train because he is a fantastic driver. He's won races. He's taken pole positions here with lack of effort, and to be fair, he's defending with lack of effort as well. But it's this downforce package. I knew it was going to throw a needle into the haystack, and it's proven to be quite a prickly needle as well, because there's been, with the exception of Lars Brugman, no meaningful response to it whatsoever.
No, it's just a strange case, isn't it? That the DRS effects of each of these cars seems to be negated, and no one's gaining on anyone else. And of course, Capit with the low downforce is effectively having DRS. It's like the same thing. Although look at that, Hoekstra now is having to go defensive, very much so, because Brugman is looking to his outside into turn 1, brakes very late, and he's going to try and keep the car there to get the inside for turn 2. That's exactly what he's done. But Hoekstra keeps the car on the inside for turn 3 and retains the position. Good driving by both of them. Look very clean. And somehow they've ended up in the same positions that they started, with Paolini just looking on behind.
That's fantastic. I will be the first to admit race 2 has been a shade of race 1, but whoa, there's been some quality driving in race 2 in bits and pieces, hasn't there? That De Vries overtake and that battling between Hoekstra and Brugman. It's so easy to just turn in on the guy as the corner snaps back in on itself, but really good respect shown from each other as Hoekstra goes slightly off the road at turn 7, able to collect himself back up, however, and he remains in P3. How he would love to get another podium for his team, of course. Back to P9 here. David Junt just about holding on to that position. Borja Milan in close pursuit, and he's dragging with him Francic and Beresford as well as they're further down the order. Oh, that's Naranjan Kumar going off the road. Alginas Riera into 14th. Dennis Jordan's had a problem somewhere along the line because he's now back down in 15th and under a lot of pressure from Chris Shepherd as...
Brugman's lost a position here. Let's see what happened. He just got loose and lost it coming out of the final turn. And he's lost the position, but now he's having to go on the attack to Paolini, but can't get past him. Yeah, just an unusual mistake there by Brugman. I think he just... got caught napping a little bit, got caught on the curb on the outside of the penultimate corner, and went off the track and into the wall.
As it is the final lap, I noticed, as Borja Milan trying to go around the outside of David Junt there on the final lap as well. Nothing doing for the moment, but Jason Muscat and Risto Capit have now left the two Mazuriks for dust. It is very much these two for the win. Jason Muscat's gonna need a mistake. He has been staring at that rear wing all race long, and I'm sure he must be sick of it, but I would argue he's got one chance, hasn't he? And that's into the stadium section, but he's blown it because he's gone right over the curbing and lost all momentum into the stadium section. Many will argue at the start of qualifying, why take the medium downforce package? It'll make you slower. This is why. He rounds the final couple of corners. He missed out on race 1. And look at Muscat tried to get back there at the end, but Capit will win race 2 from Muscat. The two Mazuriks of Hoekstra and Paolini come home 3rd and 4th. Brugman, our new champion, is P5, with Polotczek another great effort P6. Milik another great effort P7. De Vries recovers from an early spin to finish P8 with his teammate David Junt P9. Borja Milan from near the back of the grid to P10. Great drive from him with David Francic, a disappointing 11th. Beresford P12. With Ruiz P13, Riera will score 2 points in 14th, and Dennis Jordan from the back of the grid will score a point for Evolution. Your retirements from this race, only one, and that's Menno Clont.
Yeah, and that was certainly not exciting as the first race, but still kept us on our toes right to the end there, and Capit just did enough. He looked far more composed that race than in race 1, and took the win from Jason Muscat, only by a smallest of margins, but in the end it actually looked kind of comfortable for him in those final few laps. Never really looked like Muscat was going to stick one up the inside, and that was just good driving by Capit to keep the car where it is, and it just shows once again what he's managed to do in the second half of the season after coming back. He's certainly been a force to be reckoned with, and it looks like he's actually going to take second place in the championship as well, potentially. Can he? Or am I looking at the wrong scores here? I might be talking nonsense. No, actually, you can't. Nope, that's...
Nope.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong scores. I had something else on my screen. Ignore what I just said. But just to go back as well, again, Muscat looked much more improved today. Hoekstra, very good third place as well. Polotzek, good, another solid driving sixth. Milenik, really impressive today. He's one of the drivers that really kind of impressed me more than anyone else, is him right there with a 7th place. Very, very good. And Borja Milan as well, an important 10th place there, because that just gives them a bit more breathing space for ST over Racing Team Schroten in the drivers in the Constructors Championship, I should say. And I just feel like Racing Team Schroten are going to really struggle now to not finish last in the championship. I don't know how important that is now, especially considering a couple of teams have effectively died out in this championship, and we're down to 12 instead of the usual 14. But it's still, you don't want to be finishing last, and I think that's going to be the case for Racing Team Schroten this year.
No, indeed. But while we talk for many battles below the two championships, which have now been decided for this round, we'd like to turn your attention very briefly to a very exciting championships showdown, which is still to come. Take a look at this.
As I walk through frozen sands, through the flames of burning lands, my feet are torn, they're torn to strands. I will not thirst. As I cross the raging sea, waves are crashing over me. They drag me down, they drag me down, but I will not drown. They'll know my name after the storms are passing through. They'll know my name when they've forgotten all about you. They'll know my name after the storms are passing through. They'll know my name, my name. And I shall rise, oh will I shall rise again and again. I shall rise, oh will I shall rise again and again. And I shall rise, oh will I shall rise again and again. I shall rise, oh will I shall rise again and again. I shall rise, oh will I shall rise again and again. I shall rise, oh will I shall rise again and again.
So exciting times ahead, and remember to watch that showdown as it takes its conclusion. Remember to tune in once again at 7:45 p.m. on youtube.com/GPVWC and catch the Mexican Grand Prix. It should be a fascinating showdown. I'm going to be watching myself, of course. Be there or be square, I would say. Returning to the interviews now, however, and we've got some very nice interviews coming up as well. We'll start off, first of all, with Wupke Hoekstra, who took a podium in race 2. I forget whether you took a podium in race 1, to be quite frank. It's been a long time since then. I've had to go through a lot of a race where it was very frustrating for people like yourself, Wupke, just being in a queue for about 24 laps. I mean, from a driver's perspective, how annoying was Risto Capit today?
Well, first of all, I did take the podium as well in
You did?
race 1.
I thought so.
Yeah, P3 as well. So all in all, it was a good evening. But yeah, it was indeed quite annoying to be like behind someone for the whole time. There was nothing you could do really. It was just you sit there and then people behind you come up, especially Lars, who was just a bit quicker than me, and they put the pressure on you. So you have to stay close to the guys in front of you, but you can attack one of them, and that's a big problem.
Does it give you, as a driver, though, the incentive to perhaps look towards the other downforce options? Probably not this year, I'd imagine. Well, actually, maybe this year with Brazil potentially, but certainly looking at next year, of course, it seems pretty much nailed on now that the Formula Renault 3.5 will be staying for a second successive season. Do the other downforce options suddenly become a lot more appealing after seeing what Capit's done here today?
Well, I could imagine so, but to be fair, I even thought of using medium downforce for this track, but I thought it would be better not to, and I think if I did, I wouldn't have been quick enough to capitalize on that, because Frenchie chose it as well, and he wasn't quick enough. So for him, it just didn't work out.
Very, very fair argument in return, I'd say. Well done on your double podiums, Wupke. An excellent evening for yourself. And Mazurek again, actually, as well, continuing on the good form towards the end of the season. And we will now talk with the annoyance himself, Risto Capit. I mean, it did seem very much like a team decision to go for the low downforce, or for the medium downforce setup, I should say, to give it its proper name. The only other driver choosing to go with that option, Ascari Kantonen, and he didn't even take part really in a lap of this race, or in the lap of this round, I should say. It worked out for you, didn't so much for David, but ultimately worked out splendidly for yourself, a second place and a win to your name. Was it scary at times going down that front straight, though, with 5 cars behind you?
Yes, well, the first straight not so much, but the second straight, yes. As you could see in race 1, the high downforce was good enough to get the good exit from the last turn, and then if you're straight behind, you can have a dive in the second end of the first sector, because still with DRS, the high downforce was almost as fast. The gearing we used was the same, so yes, it was very, very stressful, the whole event. You just had to look behind and focus everything on the last corner exit, and it was very stressful, yes, for me as well.
Well, it's a shame that the stress comes from this race as well, given that the pressure is seemingly off now that Team Proline have secured the team's championship. Where does Street Fighter go from here? I'm sure that we'll be asking a similar question in 2 weeks' time at the final round at Brazil, of course, but are Street Fighter looking to join in for next year as well? Are you looking to come back with David? Because from everything I've been hearing, seems like Team Proline's going to be moving on. It seems like there's a very good opportunity for Street Fighter to be taking a team's championship then.
Well, I cannot speak much here. I am just a member of the what will think, and it's up to them. I already know my plans for next year, so that will be announced sometime, I guess. But yeah, I'm sure if Street Fighter is Supercup team, then it will do well. I'm sure there are many people who wish to push the team and get the Supercup drive and do well. So
that sounds to me like a potential Super League drive for you. I'm not gonna say you reveal it at all, but I'm just noting observations. I won't get anything out of you, I'm sure. But anyway, a podium and a win. Couldn't really go much better for you, Risto, so well done on your achievements. Anyway, we'll see you for the final round. And now, of course, it wouldn't be a champion's crowning without an interview with the champion himself, Lars. We were mentioning during the broadcast, you seemed so strong throughout the entire season, yet it's taken you until 4 races until the end to secure that championship. It's now yours. How do you feel?
Yeah, it feels good. Feels really, really good. I didn't expect to win at all in the beginning of the season, so I'm really, really happy with how it turned out in the end. And yeah, Sven was everyone was really strong during the season, so that's why I couldn't wrap up the title earlier, because they were all fighting really hard until the end.
Yeah, for sure. And I sort of aforementioned it before. It seems there's been a couple of murmurs about where do Team Proline go from here. From everything I've been hearing, it seems that Team Proline won't be looking to move up to Super League next year, nor really launch an entry for Super Cup next year either. And so it sort of leaves yourself and your brother out in the cold. I think you've told me a couple of times you might look towards iRacing. Can we perhaps look forward to a couple of Super League appearances from you next year, or are your personal sights set elsewhere?
No, Super League probably won't happen at all. I don't particularly enjoy the cars. I did one race at the beginning of the season, and I did some laps recently as well. But I just don't like the car, so I'm not going to do that for a whole season. And apart from that, you probably won't see me in the career ladder either. Not in Super Cup. Well, obviously not in Formula Challenge.
Well, I tell you what, you've been a fantastic sport throughout the entire season. We look very much forward to seeing you at what may turn out to be your final career ladder race then at the Brazilian Super Cup round. It should never take away from what you've achieved here this season, though. Multiple race wins, multiple pole positions, multiple podiums, and I'm sure multiple smiles on many faces within not just Team Proline, but the paddock as well. Lovely guy, very deserving champion. Lars Brugman, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, Lars.
Yeah, thank you very much for the whole season as well.
Of course. Pleasure from, I guess, every GPVWC person. And I think with that, that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen, at least on this broadcast. At least a big reminder, remember to tune in tomorrow night for the Mexican Grand Prix, the showdown between Eros Mashuli and David Fidek for the driver's title there, still to go on. And we are really wrapping up the season now. Next week, the finale of the International Touring Cup for 2016, Adrian Holm versus Niki Jakovic, Enterprise GP versus Vodbull Racing. It's happening in Brazil. Everything's coming to a head in Brazil. Interlagos, same circuit as well, so be sure to tune into that for Monday. Final Atlantic Series race as well. The title fight between, I think it's still Milan, Hoekstra and Paulini in with a chance of winning that one. Mazurek Racing versus YDF1 for the team's title. We're heading back to the Circuit of the Americas for that one, so be sure to look out for that on the Thursday. And then final career ladder week coming up in 2 weeks' time. The final major series, really, of the year until we all start it round again with, fingers crossed, Masters, maybe something else. We'll wait and see for sure. Open Series and Formula Challenge on the Tuesday, and be sure to tune in for the final Super Cup round at Brazil on the Wednesday. I'd like to take these final few moments to thank our cameraman for tonight once again, Ben Willis, my co-commentator for tonight, Mr. Sam Jones. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.